to do this.
I feel the need. No, I'm not joining Beavis.
You're not? Good morning and welcome to Tampa City Council meeting held this day. Wow, the first day of September 2022. Let's have, I'm sorry, please forgive me. Councilman Goods, do you have the invocation today?
Yes, sir. Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, council members. And good morning, citizens of Tampa. I have the distinct pleasure of introducing a good friend of mine, also alumnus of Tampa Bay Tech, strong soldier in our community, Pastor Tucker Johnson. She is the pastor of the Christ of Calvary Community Church. She is a youth minister called Mentors for Ministry, educator for over 40 years. I worked with her at Robinson High School during those days. Here in Hillsborough County, and the president of the Tampa Bay Juneteenth Coalition, who also serves as a state representative for the National Juneteenth Observance Foundation. This morning, I give you Ms. Tucker Johnson for the invocation.
Can everyone please rise and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good morning. I'm going to ask that everyone bow their heads for prayer this morning. Eternal Holy Spirit, as we come before the throne of grace with a bowed head and humble heart, I want to thank you. I thank you for our mayor, the city council members, and the leaders at every level in our city. Give them grace to bring truth, justice, and stability to our region. Give them power to do what is right and to rule in fairness. May our community be known for its justice and the respect of one another in our differences and ideas. And keep us, Lord, with an open heart of love for one another. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And it's going to be
Maniscalco, Miranda, and Teacher.
thank you. Councilman Pierre will be joining us shortly. Mr. Massey.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. This is the September 1, 2022 meeting of the City Council, City Council Chambers, and City Hall in Kendall, Tampa, Florida. Public is able to attend this meeting in person or view it by cable television on Spectrum Channel 640 or Frontier Channel 15 or by the internet via www.tampa.gov/livestream. The public is also able to participate in this meeting during public comment for a maximum of 3 minutes per speaker, either here in person in City Council chambers or virtually by way of Communications Media Technology or CMT. However, the use of CMT does require pre-registration with the City Clerk's office. Directions for pre-registration are included in the notice of the meeting and on the agenda. Members of the public may also participate in quasi-judicial matters remotely via CMT, but cell phones and smartphones are not compatible as they will not allow your camera when connected. You must have access to a CMT device such as a tablet or a computer equipped with a camera and a microphone that will enable you to be seen and heard by City Council and all other participants in the quasi-judicial matter. Could I please have a motion waiving City Council standard rules and procedures to allow public comment and appearance by City Administration staff via CMT?
We have a motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Goods. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Is there any opposed? Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Massey. Let's go through our agenda review. Of course, we have ceremonial, which is number 1. Administrative updates, which our chief is here and he will be giving a few brief. Okay, that's Councilwoman Hurtax. Number 12. That's Councilman Goods. October 6th.
All right, move to continue.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Goods. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Thank you. Agenda item number 13, Councilwoman Hurtak.
Okay, yes, we can pull that, yeah, if you want.
Just, yeah, it doesn't make
Sure. Absolutely.
Number 14, and that is
Yes.
Councilman Maniscalco.
Yes.
Okay, we will also be having something submitted, pulling up number 36, in which we are going to discuss with the chief. And 14. Okay. Anything else that needs to be,
Not until 10:30.
okay. Where am I at? Here, there are a couple that needs to be stricken because they cannot be heard.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Goods,
after ceremonials,
I have you down for that. Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir, I have you down for that. Yes, sir.
Chairman, I believe at 53, we made a motion or discussion anyway regarding that this would be the first one on the agenda.
53 to be the first one on the agenda. That's going to be at 9:30.
9:30, all right, thank you.
Okay, that'll be right after staff reports.
Thank you very much, yes, sir.
And then
Can we continue 60 to?
we,
That's, we're getting there. Okay, go ahead and make your motion, Councilman
And for
Maniscalco.
item number 60, there's a request to continue that to September 15th,
I
2022.
think we have to open the public hearing at 1:30 and continue it at that time.
Okay.
So we wait for that, sorry.
All right, so then are we good on our agenda?
Move to approve the agenda?
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Thank you. Then let's begin with our ceremonials. Councilman Miranda. Agenda item number 1.
Yes, sir, 1 second here, I'm just.
Take your time.
Mr. Chairman, it's my pleasure today to introduce the Mayor's Hispanic Heritage Committee that comes before us every year, and they like to make a presentation on behalf of their committee. So inviting us to a great event in the very near future.
Good morning. My name is Melissa Martinez. I'm the chair for the Mayor's Hispanic Heritage Committee, and we're here today to extend an invitation to this year's Hispanic Heritage Celebration. It's our 34th year celebrating Hispanic heritage here in Tampa. The celebration will be on October 11th at 11th in the morning. We're going to go back to Tampa Theater. We haven't been there since, unfortunately, COVID, so we're very happy to go back to the Tampa Theater. Our guest speaker is Mr. Benigno Lopez. Mr. Lopez is a science teacher at Shields Middle School, and he's this year's recipient of the Ida S. Baker Diversity Educator of the Year Award. Our Sari Carmen Rivera from Rumba 106.5 will be our MC, and Tampa Gym and Dance and Tampa Bay Flamenco Group will provide the entertainment. So this event is free to the public, and we would love to see you there. Thank you.
Councilman Miranda.
I just want to say they, 34 years of doing this, not that I've been doing it for 34 years, but they've been here a little longer than I have, and congratulations all of you. You do represent the Hispanic area very well. Muchísimas gracias por todo lo que hacen el año entero.
Gracias. De nada. Thank you so much.
Councilman Goods, any other councilman?
well, again, we promote diversity in the city. I've been to several events with the organization, especially during Christmas time with Julio and Lydia.
Yes.
So looking forward to getting back to in person. So I just told my ACT to make sure we have that on the calendar.
Correct, for sure.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
congratulations, and I look forward to participating this year for the first time, and congratulations on being back in person. Really looking forward
Yes.
to it.
Thank you.
Councilman Maniscalco.
Also, yeah, congratulations, welcome back. Again, you've mentioned since before COVID, we haven't met there, and it's always a wonderful event and celebration. I'm glad that you're here and your committee and all the work that you do and how you represent this community, because Tampa was built by immigrants. My parents are both immigrants. My mother's a Cuban refugee. Councilman Vieira's family, also from Cuba, so we understand the importance, the solid foundation that this community has, and you keep the heritage alive and keep it going. So we are very, very grateful for this, and we look forward to attending.
Thank you.
Councilman Vieira.
Thank you very much, sir. Just thank you guys for all that you do. I'm always very proud of my Cuban American and Hispanic heritage, always, always, always. I always say that a lot of people in the public think that they've got Hispanics nailed, so to speak, in terms of what we believe, who we are, you know, et cetera, et cetera. You get 3 Hispanics in a room, you're going to get 12 opinions on a certain thing, and that's a fact. But I think that it's safe to say that the things that unite Hispanics are love of country. We're very patriotic. We're appreciative of the opportunities we've been given. Hard work. We appreciate hard work. Family. We value family and faith. We're people of faith. And I know that's certainly true for my family. So just thank you guys for all that you do. And here on council, we always try to do a lot of things to laud our Hispanic heritage. You know, we're also working on helping out Martín Maceo, which is a small part, thank you, of our Hispanic heritage here in Tampa. So thank you guys, and Dios te bendiga. Thank you.
Gracias.
Councilman Carlson.
Gracias para todos. You know, as my colleague said, the immigrants built the city, Hispanic community in particular, and the history of the United States was written by the English colonies, not by the Spanish colonies. And so we have to make sure that we remember all the history, good and bad, of the past history of colonization, but also in particular the hard work of the Hispanics who helped build our rich community. A lot of the best parts of our community, including the Cuban sandwich, were by Hispanics, and despite whatever the historians say. Thank you very much for all you do, and let us know individually and together how we can help.
Thank you.
I cannot wait for this. This is one of the festivals, one of the celebrations that I wait for all year. When I first moved to Tampa in '74, my first taste of the Hispanic culture was Ybor City, and then West Tampa. And without the Hispanics and other minorities that came to the Tampa area, this city would not be what it is today. And I thank you for celebrating the Hispanic heritage. On a footnote, one of the best things I ever saw at your celebration is when Councilman Miranda took Councilman Capin's hand and they started doing the salsa live on stage. That was one of the highlights. Thank you for being here, and I can't wait to be there.
Thank you so much.
Does that mean you're going to be my partner this year?
No, wait, only if I can lead. Only if I can lead. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Chief. You know, I'm getting way ahead of myself here. At this time, we will be taking public comment. We're going to do that before administrative update. Councilman Goods. So go ahead, you're already up. I've been overruled.
We've got a special presentation to make to one of our own. Where's Michelle? Bring Michelle in, please.
We could already do that.
Where's Miss Tanya and the rest of the crew? Miss Shirley Fox, no. Morning. Mr. Chairman, good morning, council members, morning again. It is my distinct pleasure. I wouldn't say my distinct pleasure. I'm saddened that we're losing one of our own house, Michelle Matos. She's been with us, working hard through COVID, working hard every day for us when we need people to work for us. She's moving on to Big Blue. You better be careful over there. It's a different place, because we loved you here. But everybody wants to venture out and learn new things and do new things. And that's what being an employee is about, opportunities within the city. So you do you, be you. Mm-hmm. Smile like you always smile. But we got to give you something to go, because we know today is your last day. So we have to give you something special. Kind of choked up because you've always been a soldier with me, standing beside me. So I'm a little choked up this morning to know that you'll be leaving us. But I know you'll cross the way, though. In recognition.
Thank you very much. We will miss Michelle. She has been wonderful, and I wish her all the best on her travels upward. Thank you. You will do well.
I know I will. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to miss her a lot.
say is thank you. Thank you guys for being patient with me during my learning phase. I will miss the city clerk, the city council. Also, I will miss the night meetings. One other thing that I'll miss is doing roll call, mentioning Miranda and Maniscalco. And everybody else, but yeah, thank you so much.
Council members?
Councilman Carlson.
Thank you so much for everything you did working with us. You're a real superstar, and it was fantastic working with you. And I can see why other people want to hire you away. So
Thank you.
we wish you all the best. Hope you'll stay in touch.
I owe it to Celine Lucas, so thank you.
Councilman Vieira.
Thank you very much, and thank you to Councilman Goods for bringing this forward. This was very thoughtful. You know, you and I get along, and we always talk and joke, and sometimes we even gossip. But I always enjoyed my time with you. You're a very nice person.
Thank you.
And I know you're going to do a great job with the police department. And we have a couple things in common, including that our kids go to the same high school. So
That's correct.
there you go.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much.
Councilman Maniscalco.
Well, thank you for being patient with us, because I know it's not easy. You know, you're here day in and day out through COVID, when we were at the convention center, when we were here, when we were virtual, when we were, you know, you and the entire clerk's office. We can't do it without you. We couldn't have done it without you, and we sincerely will miss you. You're wonderful, and I wish you, you know, nothing but success in the future. And we are truly grateful that you are, you know, you've been here with us, and we wish you the best of luck. Thank you.
How's it one her tag?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for all you did for me, helping me settle in. I really appreciate it. You took time, and again, I just can't tell you how much I appreciated you telling me the same thing over and over again. So I finally get it. So thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm incredibly proud of you for searching for new opportunities and new challenges. It does not surprise me. That is absolutely your personality, and I know you'll go very far. And I'm very excited for you. We'll miss you, but I'm proud of you for just going and trying something different. I think that's absolutely wonderful, and I wish you best in all your future endeavors. And I'm sure we'll still see you. You're just next door.
Yeah, just one step away.
Councilman Miranda.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Michelle, it's a pleasure to have the opportunity to have known you and work with you for some period of time. I remember when you first started and you were a little nervous. And when I first started, I was in a baby crib. But so I can tell the difference. And you have a mannerism of which you can handle things without being upset. And that's the first thing you got to do when you handle people like you do in the clerk's office. You work with a very great city clerk, and I'm sure she's taught you a lot more than what we taught you.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes patience, and there's a difference between a mistake and an error. And I'll let you figure that one out. That's what my old baseball coach told me. And what it is about is you worked here and you got the difference of everything coming together. It's very difficult when you work in your position because you got 7 members here, you got the public speaking, you got everything going on at once, and your records must be accurate. And where you're going now, they got to be super accurate because they're going to end up in court one way or the other. So you're going from a little fire to a forest fire. And I don't mean that in any disrespectful way, because there's much, much more intense and much more professional and perfected that you have to be. Thank you very much for being who you are, and God bless you and your family.
Thank you.
Y viva, ¿de dónde?
Santo Domingo.
Santo
Dominican
Domingo.
Republic.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk.
Okay, I'm not gonna look at you, Michelle, because I'm gonna get emotional. Dad, Brian, do not put me on TV. Okay, I know you always credit me, but I would have to say the credit goes to you. You had the determination to work hard. You had the determination to make sure you got it right. You took constructive criticism, and you made sure you improved yourself day after day. So thank you for being a team player and always having my back.
Thank you.
Ms. Michelle, it has been a pleasure to work with you. I always enjoyed your smiling face when I came in. You always give me a hey. You have gone above and beyond. congratulations for taking that next step. Please remember, you've got others following you. Help them up that ladder too. Michelle, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, now everybody's here. Now everybody's here. All right, Chief.
Public comment first.
You know, somebody throws you off and it's just. All right, now at this time we will have public comment. Those wishing to give any type of public comment this morning, would you please form a line to my left, to your right. Good morning.
Good morning, once again. Well, giving honor to the Most High and to all of you in your respective places, I am Pastor Tucker Johnson with the Tampa Bay Juneteenth Coalition. On August 16, 2022, during the City Council meeting, I was delighted to hear the words that Juneteenth will be included in the city's budget for the upcoming year. I stand before the City Council today with gratitude for your vote on Juneteenth being recognized in the city of Tampa, Florida, as a holiday of celebration. I wanted to return to bring clarity to my position in this effort in bringing Juneteenth to the forefront of significance so that all is understood. Because taking on these missions can cause a person's perspective to be skewed. With every decision that we make in life, there's always a connection to our story and or our experiences. The importance of gaining perspectives in voicing a need for the holiday is that perspectives help us to understand situations from other positions. This gives us a better understanding and greater empathy. It helps to reduce biases, judgment, and conflict. However, when the perspective is connected to a story that does not belong to you, then the perspective can become a truth absent the necessary information to give transparency of any solution agreeable to the actual characters who live the story. For example, if a celebrated holiday of freedom is granted, some of the employees will still have to work. That's costly. Now I have a greater empathy of your perspective. However, your perspective is not connected to my story. So while this is true, there are those who will still have to work. Okay, those employees will still get paid. They are still compensated. Then for the abused characters in the story, a perspective may manifest as an insult, that we all pay taxes. You ask the question, did not the enslaved pay the taxes with their lives, the lives of their children, parents, grandparents? Perspectives connect to perceptions. We all have our own, and everyone's perception is their reality. Again, on behalf of the Tampa Bay Juneteenth Coalition, a special thanks to you, Councilman Goods, for being a major voice of attention in this matter. Councilman Joe Citro, a special thanks to you because you have always supported us, particularly our Miss Juneteenth pageant, of which you have never missed one. We thank you. We also thank the City Council. We are very grateful for your vote. And we are also, I don't want to be remiss without saying thank you to Mayor Jane Castor and the City of Tampa. We are grateful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mentes Knott, Tampa, Florida. One thing, I want to say huru. Huru means freedom in Swahili. And we say we as African people should always be thinking about our freedom because for the last 622 years, if you want to use a recognizable time period, we as African people internationally haven't been free. We're far from freedom, no self-determination. We've been oppressed all over the world. We've been shipped all over the world to work as slaves. And we continue to be in that position right now today. So when you talk about racial profiling, when you see an African person that's being abused, when the police can run up on you and do anything to you, biking while black, driving while black, walking while black, getting offended, when common white citizens can walk up to you and accost you in a certain way that just makes you feel like, hey, am I a human being? Do I have civil rights, human rights? Do I have constitutional rights? When white people see you with a sign or see you with a shirt on and they try to act as if they don't know how to act. Well, the racial profiling comes about because it's a level of expectation that they have of African people, that we're nobody, we're nothing, we're scum, we're less than human beings, we're 3/5 of a human being. Howsoever they wrote it down, howsoever they conceptualize it, howsoever their intellectuals put it in their heads and in their brains and feed it down to their people. So they disconnect us from our historical mission in life, which is to be a free and self-determining people. They disconnect us from reality and they have us thinking all kinds of stupidness. Who's the best dancer? Who's the best basketball player? As the world passes by. As white people right now is in the Ukraine looking at nuclear power plants and building nuclear energy and going to the moon and planning to go to Mars on Saturday, black people are running around here wondering how we're going to survive. And so it's time until you see, when you see in the absence of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and Medgar Evers and Marcus Garvey and Kwame Nkrumah and Maurice Bishop and Thomas Sankara and Queen Mother Moore and Fannie Lou Hamer and people who stood up for African people, we have none of that. Until you see the Black Panther Party and Fred Hampton and Huey P. Newton, the African People's Socialist Party, when it's none of that, black people have no representation. So what you see is black people begging everywhere you go. Everywhere you go, you see black people begging. And in this city, that's what you have. So what we need is, for our district, we need a representative that's going to represent the aspirations of African people. Who's going to talk about reparations? Who's going to talk about black power? Who's going to talk about capitalism and what capitalism have done to African people for the last 622 years? African people don't need to keep begging. We don't need to see a city with $1 billion budget, $1 trillion budget, $1 billion budget, and where 26% of the population, we're getting none of it. That have to change. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels.
Good morning, City Council members, and thank you for all you do to help make Tampa a fantastic city. My name is Charlene Hartford. I'm president of the South Seminole Heights Civic Association, which borders from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard to Hillsborough Avenue, the west side of Florida Avenue to the Hillsborough River. Last November, the Southeast Seminole Heights Flooding Relief Project began in our neighborhood at the Hillsborough River in the 300 block of West Crest Avenue. Since it began, not one portion of the entire project has been completed. Not one construction deadline has been achieved without delays, and the residents of the 300 block of West Crest Avenue have endured the unendurable. The means by which the initial roadwork was done, including digging up the original streets into the neighbors' right-of-ways, and placing the water mains, sanitary sewers, and the storm sewers caused multiple homes to suffer various structural damage. Inexplicably, Nelson Construction made no advanced plans to contend with Florida rains. And the 300 block of West Crest Avenue on more than 6 occasions flooded like a river. That caused one vehicle to be completely submerged up to its hood, and another where a city worker told the gentleman to back out of his driveway. There was an unforeseen weakness in the road, and he was buried up to the axles. As a result, we have a sweet neighbor on the same street with multiple sclerosis. Since this project began, she has had her rights under the Americans with Disabilities Act repeatedly ignored and violated. Her right to independent movement via her scooter has been violated because she can't almost any day get out of her driveway since November last year. And worst of all, significant changes have been made to the original product design that is completely unacceptable. We are sick and tired of our street also being used as these workers' personal trash can. Ignacia Aya Linear Park is a beautiful green space, very narrow, located along the Hillsborough River from the Hillsborough Bridge to, all the way down to, South Street, several blocks.
Near the middle of this beautiful park, the city approved a large concrete storm sewer trash collection outfall to be installed. This is the original rendering of that design. It's approximately 20 foot by 20 foot. The rendering showed the structure would be constructed nearly flush with the ground and surrounded by grass. Yet someone with the city unilaterally approved a design change so that concrete monstrosity now proceeds upward by over 2 feet along this narrow stretch of land, and it will host concrete pavers from River Boulevard to the structure. The project team suggests it would be a great art installation. This is during construction. This is what it
30
looks like
seconds,
today.
Mark.
Oh, I'm sorry, Steve, I thought he said it was done.
No,
Oh, I'm so
30
sorry.
seconds more.
Okay, the project team suggests it'll be a great art installation. No amount of art is going to lessen the impact of this eyesore in the middle of this park. Finally, the width of Crest Avenue does not meet City of Tampa minimums for drivable lanes. Each lane should be 9 feet. And they're asking our community to drive upon the actual curbing, which is not, according to traffic engineers, the way you want people to drive on the roads. The width should only be measured on the asphalt, so we're a foot short on the width of this street as well. That's contrary to city and state standards. The whole of Seminole Heights need to see something, anything completed. We need your help to prioritize the immediate completion of the 300 block of West Crest, shortly followed by the 200 block, and see that this construction meets city standards and fulfills the promises to retain our green space in Ignatia Hayek Linear Park. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman
I
Goods.
see Ms. Duncan here. I'm sure she's taking notes, so you can get a memo to council about that and give us an update on that company. I know we've had some companies who failed by the wayside, so you give us an update on that, please.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
I just want to let you know that we are going to be talking about this on item number 9. Yep. So we already have it coming up today.
You're not, as a team, you're going to speak separately. Mr. Keyports.
Good morning, City Council. Tim Keyports, President of the Old Seminole Heights Neighborhood Association. To follow up what Charlene just shared with you, I will just like to add some additional color to the commentary. Number one, putting homeowners at risk. No water, no notices, brown water. If we could have the slide presented, please. This is what greets some of our residents occasionally without any kind of a door hanger, and that's what they wake up to in the morning. That's when the water is working. Failing to provide the door hangers for access to the residents is impeded. As Charlene shared, we've got residents who are wheelchair bound, and they will come up in the morning and there'll be construction equipment blocking their driveways. We have 6 driveways that for more than a week, the residents weren't given any notice, and they had their cars stuck in the driveways after the street was drug up. Failure to provide any kind of a smooth walking path for residents. It's understandable, it's a work zone, but 9 months plus, the residents are absolutely fed up at this point. Flooding of streets that never flooded prior. We checked and we asked specifically, did the stormwater system get shut down? And the answer was yes, and then the answer was no. If you look specifically right here, that's one of those filtration devices. The problem is, as Charlene pointed out, when we get the heavy rains during the summertime, all of this silt immediately clogs those, and then you have massive flooding and erosion of residents' yards. Number 2, OSHA violations. These were reported by a resident who is an engineer. No on-site Nelson employed safety supervision. Continuous on-the-job training of employees. For example, flaggers. I've stopped and asked the flaggers, and they're like, hey, it's my first day. And I'm like, okay, you should talk in your walkie-talkie and talk to the guy down there as these front loaders are moving around. So a resident should not be training a Nelson employee. Employees hanging off of equipment for fun. Employees not wearing boots on the job site, literally carrying their boots and walking around in their socks. Resolution, a city contract administrator meeting with Nelson and an all-hands Nelson employee meeting to address these safety issues. Increased communication with residents. This resident was told that their driveway would be accessible. Later, they were told, now this is an example of good communication, they did receive this message from the city and the project team saying, sorry, you are not going to be able to access your driveway. So we asked for a weekly newsletter of progress. That idea was rejected. They said, we don't have time for a newsletter. Contract administration issues. This is one of the biggest problems. These gigantic culverts, some of them are 6 to 8 feet tall, are pre-positioned all throughout the Seminole Heights area. This is Central Avenue. That box has been sitting there for over 9 months. You see a lot of them that say crack, damaged, and they're still sitting there for 9 months. May I ask for an additional 30 seconds?
30 seconds.
The contract administration needs to go back and read their own contract. Contract section 4117J specifically talks about the delivery of materials on an on-needed basis as opposed to pre-positioned into the neighborhood. Culverts like this that are now sitting on Central Avenue, which is not under construction, was supposed to have started a year ago and then was delayed for a year. We now have barrels like this in the roadway because residents can't see around these culverts as they're trying to get to work or come home every day. Lack of respect for residents. Being catcalled in their specific homes is ridiculous. This is an example of a text that was shared with me. Employees, and this is probably number 2 issue, employees leaving garbage throughout the neighborhood. Go ahead. We understand it's hot, it's Florida, but this is a constant refrain. We've asked Nelson at the pre-construction, during construction. Councilwoman Hurtak has been at meetings, as has Councilman Maniscalco, where we've pleaded with Nelson, can't you guys have some trash bags out there? Next slide, please. Here's what we got as a result. No water bottles, but we're gonna eat on site and we're gonna leave our trash in our neighborhood. This is absolutely ridiculous. We've asked multiple times to have the job site cleaned up daily. The construction on I-275 is a perfect example of how it should be done. At the end of every day, they have teams that walk through the job site, they clean up the trash because they don't want FDOT to have all that stuff blown around with the cars. It's not happening in our neighborhood. This was laying there for 3 days. Okay, maybe the guy needed to dry his gloves out, but really, if that was my front yard, I'd be completely pissed off. I could go on and on. I've got 2 more pages of testimony. I don't think it's appropriate at this time. I know that you have this as item 9 on your agenda as a staff report, a written staff report. I would request the council dig into this a little bit deeper, have Nelson come, have Mr. Callaway, who is the City of Tampa contract administrator, who did provide us the contract after a FOIA request was initially denied. We then went back, we did get the contract, and we are going through it. Any questions for me? I know this is normal public testimony, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. As the gentleman has said, you know, Councilwoman Hurtak and I have been out to South Seminole Heights. I've gone through that neighborhood almost daily. Now with Florida Avenue closed, new complaints are from business owners. Trucks just parked everywhere. I get it, it's a construction zone, but you know, this is affecting business significantly, affecting the residents, everything that's been said. This is a nightmare scenario. I've already worked with residents off West Shore when the streets were torn up, and they had issues with cut-through traffic, with the all the construction materials everywhere, but it wasn't as bad as this. Trash everywhere, you know, bad attitudes from the workers. I've had so many complaints on a daily basis, people just saying, please help us. You know, I can't imagine what it's like to be living there. I get it. It's a project that needs to be done, but 9 months of misery, you know, children living there, people with disabilities, people unable to get around. I mean, we need to do better. I understand it's a contractor that we've hired, but it's a representation of the city of Tampa because they're out there doing our work, and you know, we've met. And then other issues with Rivercrest and High, and I've had other meetings, and I've talked to the chief of staff and whatnot, and that's separate, but, you know, we have to help these individuals. Now with Florida Avenue, just it's like the icing on the cake, because it's, you know, directly affecting people's pocketbooks, and
Can I make one final comment?
It's crazy.
May I make one final comment, sir?
Quickly.
I will compliment the mayor. She did go way out of her way, and she went to every business affected by the closure of Florida Avenue, which is a 3-week closure of a major arterial road paralleling I-275. She went into every business with the business owner, so whether it was La Segunda, the bakery, Spatty's coffee shop, or any of the other wonderful businesses we have, and she encouraged people from Tampa to please go and spend your dollars. So again, compliments to the mayor, to her staff for having the foresight to do that and put it out on social media. Thank you.
Thank you.
One last very brief comment, please, sir.
Go ahead.
Brief. I just want to say the community has had this upheaval since November of 2021. We're only asking you, we need some completion. We have nothing to show for all our pain. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there any other? Councilman Miranda.
Thank you, Chairman. I can only say that the saying is a picture's worth 1,000 words. What you brought us here is a library. So I admire you for coming in and doing what you're doing, both of you. And we'll get to the bottom of this. Thank you very much.
Councilman Carlson.
I also want to say, I guess we're going to talk about this at number 9. There are issues like this in South Tampa too. And maybe some of it falls under Public Works, and Gene is here to talk about it, but Mr. Keyports in particular mentioned contract administration. And since the Chief of Staff is here, I've been recommending a revamp of contract administration for 3 years, mostly due to lack of competitive bids. And we need to provide more oversight as to, and better criteria as to how these firms are chosen. And one of the problems in South Tampa is that is with the bonding, and I shouldn't be the one that's having to ask for the contracts to be changed or altered so that we don't have to wait a year because a contractor defaults. We need major revamp of contract administration. Since the gentleman brought it up, I wanted to reiterate that to the administration.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in chambers that would like to make public comment? I believe we have 2 online. Ms. Pointer, are you with us?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Good morning, Council. The Southeast Seminole Heights, that is a hot mess. Shame on Nelson. Item number 9 on the agenda, but I'm amazed that folks in Seminole Heights have taken this for so long. This is certainly newsworthy failure of the system by the vendor on this project. City staff should have been working on this from the first communication with the neighborhoods. It's a sad, sad day. As STAN president, I communicate with a lot of neighborhoods about developments in their communities. Our neighborhood leaders are becoming more active as the growth in our city has exploded in the past 3 years since I first came before City Council. STAN has been ramping up to educate our leaders on how to best deal with development. The best land use attorneys in this town are reaching out to the neighborhoods before they bring any of their proposals before council, although there are a few who might do well to follow suit. I honestly believe I have a 5th grade understanding of land use with the aspiration of eventually getting to middle school. I find that others know less than I do. I can't answer all the questions that STAN members ask. City staff does an amazing job of accommodating our questions, even though we even have a zoning 101 course being planned for the STAN members in the near future. But we desperately need an ombudsman to help us with these issues. Over and over and over again, we need a person who can be the point of contact, who can help us with this. Not just a neighborhood leader who is glad-handing with us, but somebody who actually knows about land use to be able to help us and support us in our understanding so that we can bring competent, substantial evidence before council when it's necessary. Thank you, Councilwoman Hurtak, for proposing the 1-pager or the cheat sheet last week for budget items. I love snapshots of what's being proposed. We all read the back of a book before we decide whether we want to read it or not, and that's the way it should be with these budget items. And last but not least, our council needs a secondary attorney to support them. As we've seen from Mr. Shelby's absence, there should be someone who's up to speed and ready to step in at all times. Mr. Massey has done a fabulous job, but he has other roles and responsibilities. Michelle, you will be missed by the entire community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Morrison.
Council, good morning. My name is Bob Morrison. I'm actually here for item agenda number 48, so I'll reserve any comments.
Thank you, Mr. Morrison.
That item's on the consent agenda, and it's just to set the public hearing. So if Mr. Morrison has any comments, now would be the time for him to make that regarding
Okay,
that
Ms.
item.
Morrison, now would be your time to make comments.
Developed a parking strategy, which we presented to council. That included one component, which was rate increases. The rate increases are serving a number of purposes. From a strategy perspective, we're working to be more competitive with the market. We are looking to get more turnaround time on our on-street parking and more longer-term parking in the garages. There are also some revenue issues to address with the parking division funds, and we're also working on sustainability opportunities to invest in our technology for our garages and also make micromobility and alternative options more available as we strategize with the garage assets. So that's a long way of saying that we had a strategy which included parking rate increases. Specifically on Whiting Street Garage, the rate is currently $77.15. It's going up to $92.40. The surrounding lots in that area are at $175 per month. So again, it's still a bargain for that particular garage. We have a list of all the other garages, very competitive dollars as well as far as the fees. We've also developed a micromobility master plan to work to align the what we call first mile, last mile options, such as bike share and scooters, to align those with the parking assets out in the downtown area. So for example, if you're looking to save dollars on your parking allowance per month, you could choose to park in the outer rings of the downtown and take another option into the core, such as a scooter or a bike share. So again, it's part of a bigger plan to bring some balances and sustainability to our parking. We do notify our customers 30 days ahead of time if there is an increase. We don't expect another increase for at least another year, and we would be happy to inform the council ahead of time on that. So you are anticipating any changes that might be coming with your constituents. We did only get 3 calls about this particular garage from our customers, so it wasn't on our radar as a big concern. One last item under the union contract negotiations, we added in a parking stipend for our union employees. And then through conversations with the chief of staff and the mayor, have expanded that to our other city employees that are not in the union. So they have now a stipend that they can spend to help with any parking fees that they have if they're working in the downtown buildings that require paid parking. So
Well,
I
I'm
hope
glad
that
we did
answers
that
some of your
because-
questions.
I'm glad we did that because that was an issue before, in reference to employees who may be in an area where they have parking, don't pay, versus other employees having to pay. So I applaud you for that effort with their pay. Again, if there is another rate increase within a year, we want to be notified way before the increase comes, so people can look at their budgets and govern themselves accordingly. But if you're saying the average lots that are around here are 175 and we at 9240, I mean, it's a big difference. So, things are going up, but I just want to make sure we address it so the public can know what happened and why it happened.
Yes, sir. Just another little fact, we have 522 folks for the Whiting Street garage waiting to get in to that garage to park. And most of our garages have a waiting list. So there is a supply and demand factor in this as well.
What is the stipend for the employees? What is it?
I believe it's $40 per month. Yes.
Well, I'm glad we did something versus nothing, so I'm happy with that. Yeah.
Councilman Carlson.
Just now you talked about supply and demand, and last week Councilmember Hurtak brought up the possibility of new garages. With the rate increases, are the existing garages profitable, or are they still losing money, and do you know how much, and are there any plans to build any new garages?
Yeah, I don't have exact dollars, but we are in the black. We have, and Dennis could maybe add more details of that, but we are taking in more than we're paying out. Those dollars we are prioritizing for different investments, like I said, in parking applications, technology for the garages, and other purposes, also maintenance of the existing garage structures. to make sure that they are safe and structurally sound for their purpose. So we're utilizing the money that we're taking in to develop the physical system and the operations as well.
Dickies.
Councilman Hurtak.
I think Dennis was going to answer that question too.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, Council. Dennis Rajero, Chief Financial Officer. Yes, thank you for surfacing that, and further to your comment, looking back in the last decade or so, about half the time, the parking department needed a subsidy from the general fund, and that's not where an enterprise fund wants to be. So these planned rate increases are part of making and maintaining their resiliency, as Ms. Duncan said, not only for increasing costs, but for planned improvements, as she said, for the future. So they're on a very level footing now. These planned rate increases are to continue to place them on a very level footing.
Great, thank you.
Councilman Hurtak.
I appreciate the education for all of us on the plan for parking, and I do love the idea of pushing parking to the outside. But I do know that Hart is talking about a downtown circulator, so I would love it if, and you might already be doing this, thinking about how for our employees especially, how we can make sure that those stops might be along those parking so that they don't have to get on a scooter in their work clothes, dragging bags and things like that. And just for everyone, but especially our employees, I think that would be wonderful if we could connect those.
I think it's a great suggestion. That is in development. I wasn't sure this morning how far they had gotten with that, but we'll definitely be involved in that and weigh in on those comments. I think that's a good suggestion to the extent that the circulator can accommodate those certain stops.
Absolutely. I just thank you so much. I know that we have a
So when you give things away to help people, in essence, you hurt other people down the road. And we are now, the can came to us, and there's where we're at. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Council, if you'll forgive me on this, while Ms. Duncan is here, why isn't the city charging for EV hookups within our own garages?
Yeah, that's probably a national question, because we're in a transition of wanting to evolve to a different type of technology in terms of our vehicles. And so I think anytime you have that sort of a big, huge transformation, we're in this gray area of where does the market come in, where does government come in terms of who owns what, who's going to profit from what. So there's, differences of opinions out there. Why is the government paying for people's electricity? And then the other side is, well, we can't ever get over that hump of a transition unless we have some help to get there. So I don't have a real simple answer for that. I would just say we're trying to be in the most pragmatic, helpful position on that as we can as we work through this transition.
I guess my line of questioning is I own an electrical vehicle, and whenever I go into the garage and see that same electrical Tesla that's been parked there all day, and I, excuse my language, damn well know that their charging has been completed 4 hours earlier, and I still can't park there. Councilman Miranda.
Chairman, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I also have an electric vehicle, which I do not drive in the last few months, primarily because what he said. You go by and you see it all full. You say, what for? So I put my own electrical system at the house, and I just charge my own car.
Well, we could certainly work to do a better job of turnover with our EV stations. So I'll certainly look into that. Because there should be a shared opportunity.
Let's hope there is something where a message or a text gets sent to the vehicle owner saying, your car is fully charged, please move it.
Or we will. No, just kidding.
Thank you, Ms. Duncan. Any further questions for Ms. Duncan?
Thank you all.
Chief, you would like to bring up, is it item 14?
Well, if I could
36.
follow the order on the memo, is that fair? I wanted to talk about a non-audit service ahead of 14 and ahead of 36, if that's possible.
Go right ahead.
So about a year ago, and I want to thank Councilman Carlson for his continued work on helping us make business cases as well as financial accountability and opportunity. But about a year ago, I saw a flow of emergency procurement items coming through my office, and we send those to council, and a lot of times it's retrospective awareness. So I had asked Christine Glover's office if she would do a non-audit service, because they already had their audit agenda set for the year. And she politely accommodated me, and a couple months later, I got back the report. And then I sent that to Mr. Spearman's office, who is kind of the conduit from these emergency procurement opportunities. And so I just want to put a little bit of a summary of where we are right now, and then I plan to come back to council. I'll tell you what, I used to put things straight. I'll come back to council after some further information, but just to recap, so late last year, right into the beginning of or towards the end of FY 21, I'll wait for a second for the Elmo to come back up. Can we get the Elmo back on?
Good, thank you.
Thank you. So again, late last year in the fiscal year, I requested this non-audit service, as I talked about, read through it, handed it to the purchasing department, and asked them, because they're in the middle of updating their personnel manual as part of a previous audit, and they're working between them and the legal department. So it's in that space right now. And I noticed that emergency procurements were really not a big component or at all a component of the previous audit. So this is kind of a breakout effort here for quality assurance and quality control. So when I sent it to purchasing, they wrote kind of an interim memo until that personnel manual or the policy purchasing manual came back out from legal. And they had some recommendations in there. And so those recommendations were shared with staff. And so what do we want to do now? And again, the feedback from council, and I appreciate Councilman Carlson's question on this recently, is to take those emergency purchase orders that have happened since that directive went out and do another non-audit service. And there's about 10 of them out there. But in the meantime, I've also asked purchasing to understand the percent of spend that happens both by dollar amount and quantity. And the one I have back right now is by dollar amount. It's about 3% of our total for the last 4 fiscal years have been put into emergency purchase orders. And we all can understand the relevance of an emergency. Something breaks. You know, I've had them in the convention center. We've had them in the field. And the affidavit gets filled out. It goes through the procurement process. It's attested to by that work group, and then we share it with council. So again, once this is all over, we'll put a comprehensive report back. We'll see if we need collectively to make any policy recommendations or possibly some ordinance recommendations. But right now, we're at the tail end of this journey. So I just wanted to give kind of an interim report on that.
Councilman Carlson.
Yeah, thank you for proactively jumping on this and getting so many staff to look at it. If my rough math is correct, 3% of the current budget is about $60 million. And so if you go back 3 years, that's about $180 million. And my concern is that so many of these come through $1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million, and they're rushed through. We're told we have to approve these quickly, immediately, and sure we get briefed a little bit on them, but there should be, and you know I talked about this private, there should be more time for the public to provide scrutiny for the public to get information about it. And there's the compounded problem like we had last week, that the documents either get into SIRE the day before, or some of them don't even make it to SIRE. And so for our sake, we need to know what we're approving, and it doesn't feel right to be rushed. When somebody rushes, it feels like, you know, if we see obviously that a pipe is burst in the middle of the road, we would rush to go fix that. But otherwise, some of these things, unless we see it and we understand what it is, it looks like somebody's just pushing it because they can. And so if they can explain, you refer to it as a business case, if they can explain to us more what it is, not just for us, but for the public's sake, that would be very helpful. And also give us at least a week. I mean, last week we had like $250 million in expenditures that had to be approved immediately, and that should never happen. That wasn't an emergency request, but it felt like an emergency request. Thank you.
Any other comments?
All right. Thank you for indulging that situation report on the non-audit service. The next thing is item 14 on the agenda, and we asked to move that up to this administration update, and I'm kind of speaking on behalf in a framework, and so we're open to feedback right now. And of course, not necessarily itemized in the budget, but I think during the budget workshop, there was a recommendation. Last Friday, staff met with Than and got some feedback. And I will say, even from a year ago, that we started discussing this as the budget turned the corner for FY22, about the notion of having an ombudsman in the community that has the subject matter expertise to have that direct interface on some of those critical paths. So it's a combination of Ms. Nicole Travis's office, Ms. Wynn, and Ms. McGregor's office to come together. And I put kind of a framework of things that we were talking about. Before Carol Post came on board, before Nicole Travis came on board, I had an opportunity to work with those business units. And on the left side are kind of the things that I had talked about in development and gross management, and this is even before Abby Feely came on board, about having those 5 Cs constantly going on in the workspace and making sure that, you know, we're giving the best level of customer service in a compassionate and definitely a consistent and a compliant manner. So that's kind of the framework that I had offered up 3 years ago. Now as we evolve and we have this great talent that has come on board and has handed off the different business units to the new leadership model, we're working on this concept to put it in place for the FY23 approach, which is really the feedback we've gotten from council, we've gotten from the community. But on the right side of that graphic, you can see that, you know, it's a stratified approach, and I think I could share this with Councilman Goods because, you know, we don't have one police officer out of 1,000 that's a community-oriented police officer. We want 1,000 officers that are community-oriented based. So everybody should have some level of community engagement inside their soul of serving the city. A lot of nuance in there, and we can see by the public comment and the situational cases. So whether it's public works or it's land use, having that right personality to fit that mold has to be stratified with the community engagement team, and it has to be reachable back to the subject matter experts of 4,800 people that serve the city every day. So they have to be able to reach down and get that expertise in an expeditious manner to get back to the community, get ahead of the calendar, get ahead of the meetings. And so we're pulling back right now and committing to council that we agree with this ombudsman approach, liaison approach, but not in just a superficial way, but in a very detail-oriented way. So more to come on that as we go into the budget approval. But I wanted to put this framework up because we would like to take feedback now before the public hearings. And if not, we're welcome to take feedback offline.
Councilwoman Hertag.
I do love this idea, and I thank Councilman Maniscalco for bringing it up, because as a recent neighborhood activist, whenever we would set meetings with folks from the development department, and big, you know, and it was wonderful. Big names came, but it was one neighborhood. I cannot imagine 20 different neighborhoods having that same meeting. It was very valuable, and we learned a lot, but I left that meeting thinking, wow, if they have to do this for every neighborhood, and then every time the board changes over, there is some institutional knowledge saved in neighborhoods, but I think the idea of getting the subject matter experts, but not having to be the folks that have so much work to do within the city department. So as someone who can actually focus on neighborhoods and not have to take away from the job that they are already doing is a wonderful idea. And I really look forward to see how this fleshes out and how we actually make this happen. This is something that's been needed for a long time, but I'm really happy to see that we can do this without interrupting the staff we already have and the limited time that they have to do their work.
Councilman Maniscalco.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Chief. You know, sometimes we have hearings where 50 people show up for public comment, or maybe it's 2 people. Whatever it is, we're very busy as a city. The thing is, a lot of times, people don't understand, and they don't understand what's a PD, what's a rezoning, what's an order by the magistrate or recommendation, what's going to happen. People have so many questions because it is a complicated process. You know, if we were to have a person dedicated that would go out to the neighborhoods, meet with them before they would come to city council, before a hearing, a lot of questions could get answered. We would speed up the process. A representative from the neighborhood could show up instead of 100 people, or giving people false hope, saying, you know, show up in numbers and we'll be able to, you know, flip this or that, you know, whatever decision the city council makes. We're just trying to become more efficient. And I think having somebody like that, and I've mentioned, you know, I wish we had 10 Abby Feelys, and, you know, we have wonderful people in the city, but there's one person. I appreciate this approach, and I know, you know, you want the feedback today before we go into the budget hearings, but it would just make things easier, because people just, you know, from my mother to the neighbor, you know, it sounds very complicated. And when you have somebody out there that explains things ahead of time, we can speed up the process and get things going again, because we are very, very busy. So I appreciate that very, very much. Thank you, sir.
Councilman Veranda. Councilman Veranda? Vieira, I'm sorry, Vieira.
I was gonna say.
My apologies.
That is hilarious.
No offense, I'm way ahead of myself.
Happens to be, I always get called Maniscalco, which is funny.
Orlando Guido.
Yeah, there you go. But I always get called Guido.
All right,
If you want to go.
No, Councilman Vieira, you all right? I don't want you to lose it here at the dais. You all right?
Thank you.
No, I got Mr. Carlson, and then we'll come to you. Councilman Vieira.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for that. That's funny. A couple of things. You know, this is a position that can, if done right. I wanted to make sure that we look at what other cities do with this, which I know you all have done. Because again, I don't want to, you know, give the illusion to the folks who come to city council that we're going to create somebody who's going to lobby against projects, for example. It's got to be somebody who is an information giver, who talks about, you know, balls and strikes, who talks about what the rules are and what expectations are. Because listen, a lot of the public doesn't know that city council, our jobs, we're often quasi-judicial, and we can't be in the crowd, et cetera, engaging with people on land use projects, et cetera, that are quasi-judicial, just like a judge can't. So that's why I mentioned that last time. I think that's important. And also, I think that whenever we create a new position, and I know y'all are doing this, it's important to make sure that we're not replicating efforts or replicating other departments, because, I mean, I don't know what you're going to pay the person, but let's say you pay them, I'm just making up a number, $100,000 with benefits and office, et cetera. We're going to be talking about $200,000, whatever, of taxpayer money that could go to other things. Right, so I always want to make sure that analysis is done, which I know that y'all are very fiscally responsible and are doing that, et cetera. But again, that's something that's on us to make sure that the role is defined, we're not duplicating efforts, and that council also goes to newly created positions and does inquiries every couple of years to see how that position is going. Because when you create a new position, that's everlasting life in government. And we want to make sure that we don't waste taxpayers' money, that for a couple of years the position is going well and then it kind of evolves into something else. So, but that's on council, I think, in terms of fiscal stewardship, management, et cetera, et cetera. So again, I'm glad to support this, and I appreciate you guys working to support this and everything. But again, there's a couple of pillars that I think are important in creation of it, with regards to expectations, with regards to permanency and oversight, and potential duplication of efforts. But I appreciate you guys. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Let me see if I can get this one correct. Councilman Carlson. Okay.
Thank you, sir. You know, for too many years, the focus of the city was on subsidizing big developers to come in. And you could justify that in a way by saying the long-term goal is that we'll get a return on investment and that'll go into tech. But then what happens, the money gets trapped in CRAs and it's not spent in neighborhoods. We've known for 20 years that the new era of economic development is creating quality of life for people. Because if the people are located in your community, then the companies will follow them. And now because of COVID, so many people are working remotely. We have people that were with big companies in New York and other places. They're moving here because they want to live here, and they're working remotely, as long as their companies will allow them. So we've got to continue to focus on quality of life, and we need to continue to invest in the areas that promote quality of life in the neighborhoods. And it can't be just a marketing slogan. We need to really listen to people and develop the kinds of communities that they want. The second thing is that this idea has been circulating a long time, and the original genesis of it that I heard was comparing it to the Florida Office of Public Counsel. I'll just read this real fast. The Office of Public Counsel is established by the Florida legislature as a service to the people of the state of Florida. They advocate on behalf of Florida's utility consumers, and it gets more into the lobbying and advocating area, and there may be a fine line there, as my colleague just mentioned. But I think the expectation, as Stephanie Pointer pointed out a little while ago, head of FAN, is that this person would educate the neighborhood associations and neighborhood leaders on what they can and can't do and how to identify competent substantial evidence. I think it's beneficial to us, the staff, and even the applicants if one person shows up with a list of competent substantial evidence instead of 50 people in t-shirts who say they don't like blue houses. And because we can have substantive conversations. And we've seen that work where staff has gone out and met with people like South of Gandy, and but it takes a long time to bring people up to speed, and then the neighborhood leaders change every year, so we need to constantly be on top of it. And you know, a few years ago, the last mayor created the Mayor's Neighborhood University, which at the time was seen as kind of an attack on THAN, taking power away from THAN. And the people who graduate from are very happy to get their picture and get the certificate, but at the end they say nothing really happens. Now we're kind of trained and we feel good that we have a certificate. It seemed like more of a PR thing than substantive. And what people need to know is how do they advocate for what they want? If folks in the neighborhood have sidewalks that are not repaired, how do they advocate for that? How does Seminole Heights complain about construction, or Sunset Park complain about construction not being done? And how can they do it in a constructive way? How can people testify about land use issues, and what can they expect from the staff in city council sitting at quasi-judicial? So I hope that we look at this in a substantive way, not just a kind of PR way like Mayor's Neighborhood University was in the beginning. And it might end up with legal counsel. They may advise that it should be somebody outside that we would pay. I don't know what the liabilities and lines are, but we need to carefully define it. Also in talking with the development community, because we don't want any lawsuits from this. But I think streamlining the process and educating everyone about what needs to be done and what can't be done would help everyone. Thank you.
Councilman Goods.
You know, it's what people don't know. People say, well, they're angry or they're upset. Well, they're upset or angry because they don't know the process, or they feel that someone's getting over on them. You know, people are talking about East Tampa now. Well, now you have some knowledgeable people in East Tampa now who now say we've been bamboozled all these years. We've got all this money and no one's helped us. We've had Ms. Jones, who's 80, 90 years old, been sitting on some of these boards. They don't know nothing. But now you have knowledgeable people who are now speaking out saying, no, this is the rules, this is the law. You should be doing this, you're doing that. And that's why we've now got a little movement going. We have a lot of money in East Tampa that hasn't been spent. I mean, a lot of money. And it's shameful that money hasn't been spent for the communities. So I embrace this person, but I think it needs to be a person that is not tied at the hip to a portion of the administration or a developer, or a person who is equally balanced to be able to tell the community what their rights are, what they have the right to, and they don't. We want good development, but you know, when I look at some of the stuff, sometimes the development gets over on our own staff sometimes. Some of the developers, they have big-time attorneys too, and they get over on our own staff. So I'm just hoping that we embrace this project, that we have somebody that has a balance to understand all sides, be able to educate the community on their rights, talk with developers, let them understand. But I think a lot of things has to be on the forefront before these people even filing for this stuff. And that way you'll kill a lot of the things that are going on that can be worked out. Just because you want something don't mean it should be there, because you have the money or the power, you put it there and you oppress the people. So I'm hoping that we have a process to where before this stuff is even filed, you have a person that can look at this stuff to be able to talk to the community and developer to come to some resolution, resolve, before it even gets here. And we're not here till 1 o'clock in the morning. That's what, my spiel on that, sir.
Good point.
Councilman Miranda?
I'm in the process of understanding exactly what anybody wants. Because you think we've been confused, listen to what we talked about, everybody's confused. So it just, when you talk about a salary and you talk about expenses, and you talk more and more, somewhere along the line, somebody's gonna have to draw a line. And things are moving so fast. You had computers, you had everything you want, you can find out everything, it's on the open airwaves. And now you're telling us we can't communicate. And I don't use computers. So what I'm saying is, I'm not sold on any idea until I do my own due diligence. Thank you.
Understood. So just a few points of feedback. One, if we think about what's left of the journey, sorry, on the FY23 public hearings, the 6th is a little too early, but what I'm hoping, and I'll use the analogy of last year when we asked TPD to bring in the mental health program, and it kind of evolved during the final stages of the budget, that what I'm going to be hoping is that I'll work with Ms. Travis and Ms. Wynn, and we'll come back with a framework on the last hearing. And I can tell you that the mayor always, not only does she support the concept, but she's very supportive of repurposing positions instead of just adding money to things. So we're going to be looking through those positions that may be stale and unfilled. So we're not adding, we're just, backfilling positions there. And then the last thing, which is kind of my point about stratifying the service, is that whoever would land this position, and who knows, based on scale of what we're doing in the city, with all the support of council and the public of going underground and above ground and doing more than we've ever have, this may blossom into more need. And so, and it may become more geospatial than citywide. So, we'll crawl through this and then walk and run, but we'll bring back something to council on the second public hearing and give some sort of framework so we have a better understanding of what the feedback is. Okay.
Thank you, Chief. And I'm seriously hoping that this person is that conduit between the public and the city, where that person doesn't have to go to 4 or 5 different departments, where this person could be that one-stop shopping for them.
Understood. And of course, we'll train up staff to be highly responsive, because usually speed matters and details matter in this kind of situation. So,
thank you, Chief.
All right, the next is second to last item on the administration update. It's my honor to bring Miss Andrea Zellman forward. And I believe her husband, who's given many years of public service, could not be here today, but he's watching online from, I believe, Gainesville. So it's our honor to bring Andrea forward. I would like to share a little bit of her background. Even though I've sent this in by memo, it's good for the public to see it who haven't seen it for the first time. So the administration, and of course the mayor, and of course serving council, is bringing Miss Andrea Zellman forward as the recommendation for the next city attorney. I've sent you her curriculum vitae. She's been part of the city all the way back into the mid-90s. She's worked diligently in the private sector. And then, of course, from 2019 to date, she's been the deputy city attorney. She comes from the great Public University of Florida. I know some of alum are here to celebrate that. I took the liberty of putting a note in here about she has consistently put in the top attorney list from Florida's legal elite, and this year was no different. And then just to make sure that we have all the housekeeping, there is no residency waiver required for Ms. Zellman should you confirm her today. So, Andrea?
As I've talked to several of you, I don't take anything for granted, so I would appreciate your vote confirming this appointment. I'm glad to answer any questions, and I have a few remarks I'll hold. I think there's a question.
Councilman Carlson. Councilman Carlson.
Yes. Ms. Zellman, I'm a big fan of Clay's, and we've known each other for a long time, and we worked together, several of us worked together on the Charter Review Commission, and it was great working with you there, and it's been great working with you here. But you also know that City Council by charter has no power after this moment, so once we approve you, just like the Senate confirming a Supreme Court justice, we don't really have any power. May we have less power than the Senate. And so we have to ask questions. And I think you've seen or you're aware that there's lots of evidence about your two predecessors and how they worked against city council. And so we've had some agreements or disagreements about that. So I apologize in advance, especially on this big day for you, but this is my only chance to ask you some really important questions. Can you please confirm who the client is of the city attorney's office?
Yes, and first of all, I don't agree that you won't have time to ask me questions after that, because we always have an open door policy, open ear policy, and if I am confirmed, I will always be happy to talk to you. But in answer to your question, we represent the city of Tampa, the entity. That includes the city council as a body, and that includes the mayor, and that includes the staff, the administration of the city of Tampa.
Mr. Morris, could you just give her one of those, please? I'm going to pass this out to my colleagues and the clerk. This is a copy. This is just an excerpt from the charter that I pulled up last night. Could you just read the first highlighted part there, where it defines the legal department's client?
The first highlighted one?
Yes, please.
Yes, the legal advisor of the mayor, the city council, and committees thereof, and all of the several departments, officers, and boards of the city government.
So I've had 3 different attorneys look at this, and they say it's very clear that the clients of the city attorney are the mayor, city council, the committees, and also the departments, officers, boards of the city government. So considering that that's exactly what the charter says, would you affirm that that's true?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. And do you also then confirm that under Florida bar rules that you would have a duty to protect and defend each of your clients?
Of course, yes.
And could you also confirm under Florida bar rules that you have a duty of confidentiality regarding your clients, and that would include not speaking to the media without your client's approval?
Let me just say a couple of things. First, earlier you said something about the last 2 city attorneys working against the city council, and just for the record, I just want to say I don't agree with that representation. In terms of speaking to the media, I think all of us have a duty to be responsive to questions raised by the media. And where's Charlie Frago? He regularly asks me questions, and I have to respond to them, so I'm not sure.
Have you heard of the term prejudicial extrajudicial statement? Have you heard of that term before?
Yes.
And would you remember that might be a part of the guidelines of the Florida bar?
Yes.
And under that definition, would it mean that the city attorney should not say anything that's prejudicial to their client, as you just defined, to the media or anyone else without approval of their client?
Well, remember, ex parte means that you're speaking to a judge or
Sorry,
someone acting in a quasi-judicial capacity.
I missaid ex parte. The term is actually prejudicial extrajudicial statement.
Okay. No, I'm sorry. What was the question again?
Yeah,
I feel like I'm being deposed.
Sorry, that's a part of the Florida bar guidelines, and under Florida bar guidelines, attorneys are not allowed to speak about their clients to anyone without their client's approval. That's what that means.
I think I will look at that bar rule. I think I know which bar rule you're talking about. I think it's referring to, say, individual clients in litigation. Remember, our office doesn't represent each of you individually. We represent the city council as a body. So I think if we're asked questions about the city council as a body, we can answer them. So,
but answering a question about a city council member that then hurts your client city council would be a violation of trust with your client city council.
that would not be my intent. Let me just say, I fully promise I will act in accordance with the Florida bar rules. You know, as I said when I spoke to you prior to this meeting, as an attorney, it's important that I respect and trust my clients, and they respect and trust me. And I will do everything I can to earn that trust. I have no intention of violating bar rules or doing anything else inappropriate.
Yeah, and there's a lot that I could say about that as examples. There's lots of examples. An example that came forward recently was a memo from the mayor about naming streets and buildings. And in the whereas clauses, it said, whereas the mayor has the right by charter to name buildings. And it's not in the charter at all. And so that's an example of some of the things that have been happening. Plus, the last city attorney spoke out of school about me and other city council members. And I think we need to make sure that that doesn't happen again. So here's another big question. What happens if there's a conflict? So there's obviously many conflicts. We're often told that we cannot create a committee because the mayor has to agree, but when the mayor wants to create a committee, we're not asked to approve that. So how do you deal with conflicts if the mayor, one of your clients, wants something and the city council wants something else? How do you address conflicts?
So I'd be glad to share with you, actually, when the original CRB was created, that issue was raised. At the time, the city attorney was Julia Mandel, and the question was, did she have a conflict representing both the city council and the mayor? And the city retained Gwen Young of Carlton Fields to write a legal opinion on that conflict question. And she concluded that the city attorney doesn't have a conflict. We're like a corporate attorney that represents both the board and the CEO. So I don't believe that, and I think what you're asking at a more ground level is if the mayor and you disagree, what will I do?
If the mayor and council disagree, yeah.
Right. I'm sorry, I meant the collective.
And that example you gave, there's lots of feedback about that example, but I'm not going to give feedback on that. But if there's a conflict, what do you do? Can city, in regular bar rules, if an attorney has a conflict, they have to either resign one side or they have to refer it to outside counsel. And how do we make sure that if you refer it to outside counsel, that we would have objective outside counsel, as in the case you mentioned? How could we make sure that the council is also representing? How could we make sure that the legal counsel is also representing city council and not just the mayor's interest?
Well, you're right. Sometimes our office, even in the last 3 years, we've hired outside counsel just to avoid any semblance of, conflict or inappropriateness. And as far as ensuring that counsel
and at least
is
one of them
objective,
to aggressively attack a city council member.
well,
Can I also ask you?
any outside counsel that's hired is also a member of the bar, and they've sworn an oath, and it would be wholly inappropriate for them to act any way other than in accordance with the bar rules.
Could I ask you also the second highlighted section on this first page? Could you also just read that? This is quoting from the charter. It's talking about the duties of
So this is regarding the duties of the city council, and it says also to appear, advocate, and defend the rights and interests of the city or any officer of the city in any suit or prosecution for any act in the discharge of his official duties.
And so do you confirm your duty under that section in the charter?
Yes.
And that includes individuals, not just city council as a whole?
Yes,
It
and
says
as I've told you before, there's a body of case law and there's statutes that govern when it's appropriate to defend an individual officer and employee of the city.
And if you look at that section, I'm not going to have you read the whole thing. It doesn't talk about money. It just says to defend and protect, or defend and protect. On section 7.02, the budget on the next page, could you just read the first sentence there?
No money may be dispersed from the city treasury except in pursuance of appropriations made by the city council.
And so there was opinion by your predecessor, 2 predecessors ago, which your last predecessor relied on to pay settlements. Now, city attorney has the right by charter to agree to settlements, but only the city council has the right to approve budgets. So can you tell me in the charter where it gives, other than the opinion of a city attorney two times ago, where does it say in the charter that the city attorney has the right to agree to pay settlements without city council approval?
So I think that's, if you go back to 5.01, it shall be his duty to take the management charge and control of all the legal business of the city. It's virtually impossible, it would be virtually impossible for us to bring every settlement to this council.
But it doesn't say explicitly that the city attorney can pay. The city attorney may agree and
Attorney can pay settlements, it's that they can approve it. Like I said, ultimately, any appropriation does have to come before council in one form or another. And as I started to say, we settle hundreds of cases. We have a settlement committee within our office that works with our litigators, risk management. We evaluate every case. We agree, what the settlement should be. We have to give our attorneys, for instance, authority to go to a mediation with a certain number in mind, and then come back and then, approve the ultimate settlement agreed to. So it would frankly bring your meetings, add a lot more meetings to your calendar.
But it could
if
be
we had
this.
to bring all those settlements.
It could be
to
the city council could explicitly give authority to the city attorney to approve it up to a certain level, correct? So that they all wouldn't have to come back. But I'll just end. I'm sorry to have to put you through this. It's not based on how I feel about you. I've always liked to work with you, and we had a good conversation the other day. I look forward to working with you. Just based on the experience of the last 3.5 years, I had to ask you these questions. I apologize to Clay and your family members who may be watching. But I look forward to working with you, and I think that you will help us correct the mistakes of the past. But in case we see the mistakes of the past, I'm going to go back and play this video. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Maniscalco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Councilman Carlson, for the questions. I know you fairly well. I know your reputation. It speaks for itself. You're a person of good moral character, of service to this community in many capacities. Here, serving as assistant city attorney or on the Charter Review Commission, or your husband's reputation and his service at the federal level, working in Washington and working here. You and I met the other day. We had a great conversation, as we've always had. I myself, being here since 2015, have worked with several different city attorneys, and in my personal experience, I've had good relationships with everyone. Everyone is different, and I've never had an issue. We've always had an open line of communication, regardless of who it was. And you said something the other day when we met, and it was about a reset or a hard reset and starting fresh. And coincidentally, last night my wife and I were watching The Twilight Zone, which sometimes it feels like we live in a Twilight Zone. I know. And we watched an episode called Walking Distance from 1959. And at the end it says, you have to stop looking backwards and start looking forward. And I said, well, perfect. We're having this discussion on a non-Twilight Zone issue at City Council about looking forward. You talked about a hard reset. A couple weeks ago I talked about let's work together and move forward. Let's have some peace here, because we've all had, for many different issues and different reasons, a very interesting last 3.5 years. And again, I know who you are. I know your work ethic. I know your dedication to this city. And we should have that hard reset. You've answered the questions. Councilman Carlson asked very difficult, very clear, very pointed questions that needed to be asked, and I appreciate that. But I have full faith in you that you will honor your oath and this city charter, and that we will work together well moving forward. So you will have my support, and I'm looking forward to hearing what other council members have to say. Thank you.
Councilman Vieira.
Thank you very much. And I will be gladly voting for you. I've known you for some time. And whatnot. I think, we're fortunate, and we've talked about this before, that in the last few years, we've gotten attorneys from places like Buchanan Ingersoll, Trenholm, Hillward Henderson, McFarland Ferguson. I know Ms. Johnson Velez is a former HCBA attorney, used to be a Fowler White. I think you used to be a Fowler White as well. But we're fortunate in that regard. Your reputation precedes you. You are a woman of outstanding character and decency and professionalism, and I say that as a colleague in the Florida Bar, a license for 19 years. Time goes by really fast when you do it in 0.1 increments. But I know you're going to do a lot of laughs there from the lawyers. But I know you're going to do a fabulous job. You're a very good person with a very good heart and whatnot. And something that Councilman Maniscalco said I think is very important, which is on the reset issue, which is I define it as de-escalation. I think that's important. And that's on all of us, myself included, all of us. I mean, I think that all of us here have made an effort to look at the things, those ties that bind, to see the good in people despite our differences. I say that all the time, and it's certainly true for the city of Tampa. And I've done it because we all have so much in common. And if we disagree on one thing, let's talk about the 10 things we agree on, and let's talk about different things. And I hope that we all continue to do that, because that's so important, because we didn't run for office for caustic measures. I know I didn't, and I don't think anybody else up here did, and whatnot. So just looking forward to supporting you and working with you. Like I said, I'm a big fan of yours. And everybody's talking about your husband. I'll say it, I think he walks on water. If he's on a boat, you throw him out into the ocean, he's not going to sink because he walks on water. So I'll say that. But thank you very much, and I look forward to supporting you. Thank you, Andrew.
Councilman Goods.
Ms. Zellman, we had a conversation, candid. And I told you that I wasn't happy with the city attorney's office. Clear on that. I think some of the things that were done with some of the council members and some things in the city, I think are criminal. Downright criminal. We talked about the politics. I think that office has been influenced and infected with politics. We talked about that. That's not what the city attorney's office is made for. The city attorney's office is to fulfill the rights of every employee, the offices they hold, the departments. So like I told you in that meeting, you can't serve two masters. And that's the problem, gentlemen. You look at this charter, you got several different people that the city attorney is supposed to uphold. But the main two is this council and the mayor. And Ms. Hurtig, if I put you up for the promotion to appoint you, and the other body says, okay, you belong to me. I'm your master. I'm your master. That's the way I feel. And most people know I'm telling the truth. I've had other city attorneys that worked for the city say the same thing. We work for the mayor. Mr. Carlson brought up about the charter and talked about the way Miami and some other places do some things, and I'm going to look at that down the road. I'm very hurt. I think that, again, the city attorney office played politics on a lot of issues. It's not fair. It's not right. No matter how the vote goes today, because I know you'll get confirmed today, I hope that you don't play politics. I hope that you do your job and be able to tell the mayor, Mr. Bennett, what's right and what's wrong. That's what the citizens of Tampa want. Someone who will be able to stand and tell us when we're right and when we're wrong. Not to play politics. I have a lot of things going on legally. I think you're a nice woman. I think you probably do have the great heart to maybe reset, whatever that may mean to some council members. And in a sense, I support you, but in another light, I'm nervous and afraid. I think I have the right to be that way. Because I know what happened. Everyone in this community knows what happened. You can look at the documents. It's clear. But that's all right. I serve a good, awesome God. I will not be voting today on this issue. I will abstain from voting. Not that I don't like you, not that, I think you're for me, the institution, I think, has been compromised. And you are part of that other institution. So whatever happens today, going forward, I'm still going to work with you. I give my commitment to you. I just want to be treated fairly. I want other employees to be treated fairly. And I want the strong, cold answers that are right, not just to sway one side versus the other. But whatever they may be, they may be. So, gentlemen, I will abstain from voting today. Mr. Morris, you can get those forms from me, sir. But I will abstain from voting on this issue today. I wish you well and great success to you.
Thank you.
Councilman Miranda.
I don't know where to start. I had the pleasure of working with a family, and they gave me 4 phones for $100 a month for the same service. So I saved $32. My sister didn't want to, but she said I was paying her phone. I said, look, I'm saving $32. Let me give you a phone. That's how I got 4 phones. Now the story is known. So when I turned in the phones, I didn't even ask, am I clean? One thing I also taught myself bad on that dime. when you have temptation, you can fix a problem. You will never fix a problem that is not understood and hasn't been a problem. Let me explain that. On this dais, I've been here 29 years. Only one time in my life did I bring the cell phone into this dais. You know how I did that? By habit. When I see Mary, I hand my phone to her every Thursday. She wasn't there that day. And I brought this, I was sitting right with Mr. Citro, and the damn thing rang. I didn't know where to hide. I was nervous. I had chills. I said, what am I doing? You know why? You can never fix a perception of a problem. Never. You can fix a problem, but never a perception of a problem. So you'll never catch me with a cell phone on this dais. You know why? I can't get accused of anything if I don't have one. And that's how I go through life. Sometimes I make an error. There's a difference between an error and a mistake. That's for another day. So what I'm saying is, you do your job to the best of your ability. I don't care if you insult me, or if you tell me I did something wrong, and you advise me and I'm gonna tell you no, you have the right to say the hell with you. Because I said no to you, you're the city council attorney, and you're the mayor's attorney. And I believe in straight forward. I'm not against anyone or for anyone. I'm just telling you what Charlie Miranda was taught living in the beautiful condominiums of Tampa. That was, of course, the word wasn't about it. It was actually Tampa Housing Authority. But I call it the condos of Tampa. So what I'm saying is, it's a hell of a life if you just walk down the narrow streets and say hi to everybody. Thank you very much.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
I first of all want to thank my colleagues for bringing the questions and, quite honestly, airing the laundry that we all feel about the office and not you, the person. The office is something that we absolutely have to look at, and I appreciate Councilman Carlson's questions. I appreciate Councilman Good's comments on that matter. But I will disagree with other council members and say that while this is a different era, we absolutely cannot forget our past. That is not what we are here for. And we have to think about what has happened, how this council feels about that. And I have confidence that you will do that. As several other members said, we sat on the Charter Review Commission together. I got to know you there. I have worked with you since joining council several months ago, and I do feel like I can come and talk to you about different matters, and I do really appreciate that, and your reputation does precede you. But we do need to address these things, and we do need to keep thinking about them as you go forward. And I really, while I'm absolutely supporting you today, I do, when you take that office, we all have to think about the office that we hold and how we actually, how we represent that office. And so today, we are looking at a new chapter of that office, but I encourage you, and I know that you will, think about the past and what this office has represented in the past and how it can be different going forward. Thank you.
Is everyone finished? Thank you. Ms. Zellman, this council, this city has faced situations that no other council or no other city has faced in the past. We had a pandemic, and I don't know of any mayor, any council, or any city attorney's office that were able to call someone up and say, hey, how did you handle your pandemic back in 1921? We then had peaceful protesting in the streets. Again, I don't know of any mayor or council or legal staff that were able to call anybody saying, how did you handle that? Then we were faced with a recession. And it's my opinion that this city has come out the other end stronger and better because of it, more so than any other city in this country. I am very proud of this council. I'm very proud to have worked with them. I'm very proud to be working with the mayor. But there was advice that was given by our city legal team that, in my opinion, was great advice. I congratulate you on being handed the baton. We're still going to have hurdles we're going to have to cross, but I have complete faith and confidence in you and other part of our legal team that we're top 5 in the 100 municipal attorneys at law in the state of Florida. We have a great team. We have a great family. Ms. Solomon, I welcome you. Thank you for everything you've done. Councilman Miranda, if there's no further discussion, this is your committee. Would you like?
I move item number 36 with great honor.
We have a motion by Councilman Miranda of the Finance Committee to move agenda item number 36, F22 76934, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. Let's have a roll call vote, please.
Vieira.
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Miranda.
Yes.
Pertek.
Yes.
Carlson.
As I said, I'm voting yes with the faith that you will follow the charter and defend city council. Thank you.
And Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously. Congratulations.
May I make just a few short remarks?
Good.
I wanted to say,
Because you got to get back to work, yes.
yes, and we all do. I wanted to thank you for your vote today. I appreciate your trust in me, and I will work to continue to earn it. I want to thank the mayor, of course, for appointing me. I also want to thank Gina Grimes for bringing me back to the city in 2019, almost 3 years ago today, and for putting in place an incredible and diverse, which was one of her goals, an incredible legal staff, many of whom came down today to support me, and I appreciate that as well. They really are incredible, even if they didn't get the best lawyers, whatever. They're all good. They all work really hard for the city and really hard for the city council. In the last few years, our office has implemented policies and processes that have made the legal department one that operates with professionalism, a strong work ethic, and one that always strives to produce quality work for all of you. I want to build on that foundation that was laid so that we can continue to work together toward our common goal of serving the citizens of the city of Tampa. As I said, I encourage you to reach out to our office, to me, to anyone with questions, concerns, comments, suggestions, open door, open ear policy. I thank you again for your support, and I look forward to moving forward together with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Back to work. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Council.
Thank you.
Mr. Bennett, could I ask you, Mr. Bennett?
Councilman Carlson, you're
Yeah, I just want to ask you, Mr. Bennett, I want to ask you one more question, and it's in line with some of the things that we were just talking about. It seems like every week, more and more substantive evidence is surfacing that the mayor's staff have collaborated to attack city council members individually and collectively. And now we have, the mayor's people like to call it conspiracy theories. We have written evidence of it. And as this evidence surfaces, I've asked several times for the mayor to publicly call for the attacks to stop. Frankly, she should probably change staff or change the policies. But I've asked for the mayor to publicly call for a halt to this. My colleagues talk about creating peace and creating a collaborative environment. I started with that environment, and you know I've tried to do that with you. But as long as the city staff members are colluding to attack us and even set up other city council members to attack each other, we are never going to be able to move this city forward. So I will ask you again to please, not you, but ask the mayor to publicly denounce these activities and apologize for them so that we can move this city forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council, we have a 12 o'clock hard stop time. There's,
We had the audits here now for 2.5 hours sitting
Yes.
down, and they're anxious to do whatever we got to do. So let's go to them first, if I may.
if we can, there is an agenda item that has been asked to move forward, and I believe it's agenda item number 51. So if I can have someone open the
So moved,
9:30
Chairman.
public hearings.
So move, open all the 9:30 hearings.
A motion made by Councilman Miranda, seconded by Councilman Carlson. If you will indulge us, staff, so we can hear this agenda item. Agenda item number 51. Which is file number REZ 22-40.
Good morning. Hussein Hussein, Development Coordination. Agenda item number 51, case REZ 22-40. This is being presented for second reading and adoption at the location 110 South Boulevard. Proposed rezoning from OP Office Professional to PD Planned Development Residential Multifamily Strip Shopping Center Retail
I'm
Bank.
sorry, Hussein.
Before we go much further, I don't think we took an oath.
Yes,
because this is
I do
this is a
apologize.
Judicial proceeding.
Anyone who will be giving evidence at this time, will you please rise to be sworn in? Thank you, Mr. Massey.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
And then we have 53. Please proceed.
Thanks so much. Zain Hussein, Development Coordination. Agenda item number 51, case REZ 22-40. This is being presented for second reading and adoption at the location 110 South Boulevard. Proposed rezoning from OP Office Professional to PD Planned Development Residential Multifamily Strip Shopping Center Retail Bank and Drive-In. Site plans have been dropped off to the City Clerk's office. I'm here for any questions if needed.
Any questions for staff? Seeing none? Please proceed.
Good morning, Truett Gardner, 400 North Ashley Drive. In the interest of time, I'm going to pick up where we left off. By way of introduction, I have with me Greg Mender, who's going to be providing testimony, Addie Clark, who's a civil engineer with our law firm, and then also Brad Caldwell, who is with Development Ventures Group. We'd like to thank council, specifically you, Mr. Miranda, on the motion to allow this to just be continued for 1 week. And if you'll recall, after a representative from the University of Tampa, Scott Gosson, appeared at our second reading last Thursday, we agreed to continue this matter for 2 reasons. First was to meet with the University of Tampa after Mr. Gosson stated that we had not communicated with them and that they had not received notice of the development. Second, through Mr. Gosson, UT expressed concern that the developer is not providing adequate parking for this project. I want to address both of those topics. As to the issue of notice, we have reviewed our files and correspondence, particularly for due process purposes. I want to dispel any notion that notice was not correct and further that UT was not aware of this project. To that end, this is an email from November 23rd from Dr. Vaughn, President of the University of Tampa, to Greg Mender, stating, you'll see highlighted in the first sentence, I understand that you may be working on the second housing project near UT, which is this development here. Second, and as a courtesy to the university, we filed our rezoning on January the 11th, and Greg Mender sent an email to Dr. Vaughn, and just going back one other sentence in this November 23rd email, the university president made Mr. Mender aware in the second paragraph, please note that Jennifer Skaya remains the point of contact for the Henry relationship and any requests for data or conversations regarding future off-campus projects. So January 11th, we file our rezoning. Mr. Mender sends an email as a courtesy to Dr. Vaughn and Jennifer Skaya making them know you'll see highlighted in the first line, we made our rezoning filing today. Fast forward, and this is on the issue of notice. This is our affidavit of compliance with notice. And you'll notice in the certificate of mailing section, highlighted is the University of Tampa. Date of certificate of mailing was June the 15th. And then finally, as it relates to the meeting, Mr. Minter is going to testify to that, but they were able to meet with the university on Tuesday of this week. Unfortunately, they had to agree to disagree, and we'll be getting into the details of that. As it relates to parking, it's our responsibility to you to provide proper justification to support the parking waiver that's being requested. I would submit that the development team and its professionals have been thoughtful about how they've arrived at their parking count. As a result, I would submit to you that your unanimous vote at the first reading on July 21st, which included a discussion and questions on the parking waiver, was correct and warranted. That said, we've looked into this issue further, and Addie Clark is going to provide additional information supporting this request. Addie is a professional engineer with a specialty in transportation, and she spent the last 6 years at Kimley Horn specifically working on transportation matters. I have her CV, which I'd be happy to turn into the record.
Mr. Chair,
Councilman Cross.
we have 6 members here, and I don't know if Ms. Riera is coming back. You all know.
He didn't inform any of us, so let's go ahead and proceed.
Just out of courtesy to the applicant.
Good morning. I apologize. I was not here when to be sworn in, so I will need to be sworn in. Sorry about that. I do. Thank you. Good morning. For the record, my name is Addie Clark, 400 North Ashley Drive. And as Truett said, I'm a registered professional engineer in the state of Florida, and I specialize in transportation engineering and planning. As Truett mentioned, the need for the parking waiver was analyzed in great detail from both a qualitative and a quantitative perspective. This redevelopment intent of the site seeks to maximize the students' accessibility to the school and to urban amenities. It is important to view this project as a vital component in promoting the live, learn, work, and play environment that extends just a half a mile beyond the defined central business district. This slide, and I have a note on the Elmo. Thank you. This slide here highlights the proximity of the project to UT and to the downtown core. As seen with the darker green line, the project is located a mere 5-minute walk away from the center of UT's campus. As seen with the lime green line, it is just over a 10-minute walk from the center of downtown. Now to zoom in on the pedestrian and bicyclist perspective. This next slide indicates that a student can wake up, hop on their bike, and make it to Plant Hall in just about 3 minutes. In addition to being able to bike, residents would be near a few different micromobility hubs. These micromobility hubs are changing the way that people do things, such as scooting to meet up for friends or going to go run an errand downtown, further lessening the dependence on single occupancy vehicles and parking. Now to take a more quantitative look.
Please zoom out. There's a little button on top.
Oh, looks like
Okay,
they
we're
did.
good.
Thank you. Internal and external to Tampa. As mentioned in the first reading, the code required parking today if you picked up this site and dropped it about half a mile east to the CBD Channel District or even a little bit further to Ybor. As you can see, the 210 spaces that the project is providing, it would be providing more parking than is required in those close proximity areas. As you can see in the red box, the Central City multifamily parking code is quite an outlier. The average multifamily parking ratio required by the surrounding Tampa neighborhoods and by the Institute of Transportation Engineers is 0.97 spaces per unit or 0.31 spaces per bed. This project is providing more than that average with 1.09 spaces per unit and 0.35 spaces per bed. And this is a graphical representation of the table that you just saw. And as you can see at the far right of the graph, there is currently an amendment to the parking requirements in both the CBD and the Channel District, which would result in adding student housing as a defined land use. Currently, there is not a student housing defined land use in the city code. And so all of these ratios that you've seen before you are for true multifamily housing, where one is going to and from work and ultimately would likely need more parking for their vehicles, rather than a student who lives a mere 5-minute walk from campus and 10 minutes from downtown. Taking a look outside of Tampa, the architect for this project specializes in mid and high-rise student housing projects. These are a few examples of student housing projects throughout the country that they have worked on. All of these projects are similar to the project before you, as they are all in urban areas and located within walking distance of a college campus. These sites provide an average parking ratio of 0.27 spaces per bed, whereas this project, again, is providing 0.35 spaces per bed. Again, you can see how the city parking that is required is an extreme outlier. And here is a graphical representation of that table as well. So with the data listed and the prime location of this project site, it is my professional opinion that the parking provided is sufficient and that the site seeks to maximize the user's accessibility to urban amenities, pedestrian infrastructure, and other micromobility options to reduce reliance upon vehicles and parking. Thank you, and now I'd like to introduce the developer, Greg Minter.
Any questions? I have a couple, please. Ma'am, no, this is going to go to you, but I just want him here because I know there's going to be a jump in. Your professional opinion is going on this building being occupied solely by students.
So my professional opinion looked at the student housing as well as the commercial and drive-in bank holistically, but we knew that student housing was the major question when it came to parking.
You said student housing. Can you guarantee us, this council, that it's going to be 100% occupied by students now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Can you make that guarantee?
I wish I could. Unfortunately, there's this thing called the Fair Housing Act that gets in the way. Mr. Minter can testify to how they dissuade people.
Thank you.
But what you do see in the ITE and where the city is going is when there is, and there's no housing development, student housing development that can assure that. But what you are seeing is that breakout in the codes of a development that's intended for student housing versus a multifamily
Simple
development.
yes or no would have answered. Thank you very much. Now let me go back to this transportation or traffic engineer.
Mixture of both.
Okay.
Transportation planning,
Wonderful.
traffic engineering.
Can you put back up that Elmo slide that you had of the bike route
Yes.
to the University of Tampa? No, the other one, it had the blue line.
Oh.
I need to ask this question of you.
Yes.
Is the University of Tampa a ride-friendly campus? Are they permitting multimodal ride on their campus, meaning bicycle, scooter?
Bicycles, I believe, and I
Believe or no?
I believe bicycles.
Than what you all are estimating as a student, and what would that be?
So I'd actually like to refer to this graph, if that's
Okay,
all right.
thank
So
you.
this one, it shows how currently there is not a student housing defined land use in city code whatsoever. And so the majority of these bullets that you're seeing are for true multifamily. So you're seeing the black dotted line is what this project is providing. So it's actually providing more parking than would be required, say, if this was a true multifamily project, say, located in the Central Business District, Channel District, Ybor. It's also providing more parking than what would be required for the Institute of Transportation Engineers.
But based on your experience, what if it was multifamily in the building, what would be your expectation, based on your experience as to how many parking spaces would be needed?
I believe with this graph, I would show, to me, my professional opinion is that we'd be providing a solid average with what is provided per code. I do believe students are a little bit more attuned to biking and going places. They love to walk around outside. But with this graph here, I believe that with multifamily, we'd still be providing average, similar to what's around the area.
I think there was do you have that other chart that said that like 0.35 and 0.21 or whatever it was?
I was gonna, yeah, Mr. Carlson. I
What
was
would
gonna
that
add-
number be for multifamily?
That's exactly what I was gonna address here.
Okay.
So I think this one depicts it better as far as number-wise. So again, as Addie said, which I thought was very artfully stated, if you took this development, moved it to Ybor, moved it to the Channel District, moved it to the CBD, all they do is apply the multifamily. There is no student housing. You could see in any of those locations, it's 182, 182, 182. We're providing 210. And I
But what do you
in that-
think is the, not the requirement, but what's the expectation of how many spaces you would need?
So about one space per unit is, like Truett mentioned, was the general trend here, which I believe is consistent with other codes and what we see historically, as you
What would
can see
that
from
number
IT.
be? What would that number be on the right column? Do you know? I mean, you can't predict how many beds are in each unit, maybe, but is it a higher number than those?
So Addie, correct me if I'm wrong, but this breaks out what that would be on a per bed basis.
Correct.
And you can see the 0.32, 0.32.
Is that the requirement or what you see as a pattern in the industry?
So with the latter, usually per unit is what parking codes are defined as. That's the independent variable per unit. But beds is something that we showed here to relate it back to the student housing and just to kind of get in a general feel of how this student housing project would relate to these multifamily codes if you broke it out using a different independent variable. But units is typically the independent variable used.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
I grew up 8 blocks from the University of Florida.
Go Gators.
I just want you to speak to how likely, what are the reasons that someone who is not a student would choose to live among students?
I think that's a much answer.
So one thing, I think especially going to University of Florida in this area as well, if someone's say a young nurse just starting out or they're in medical school, maybe they are still a student in that case, but I think with the rates being a little bit lower, they're in the hub, especially this urban area, they're in a walkability, and having the different mix of uses in that one area where they're located, we see those trends of people wanting to be in an urban environment where they can walk to meet their friends, walk to go get groceries. So I could see that as someone who's a young professional wanting to save some money and be in a vibing, fun, activated area.
Actually, would you mind if I jumped in on that answer as well? It's funny, this is to Gainesville, and Addie and I were looking at this yesterday. It was fascinating. We worked on a development called the 9, which is on University 13.
Near the DNA Bridge.
Yeah, the what, DNA Bridge? And what was interesting, it had a very high parking ratio, but then there was one called
Social 28.
Social 28, literally across the street from the campus. As you'll remember here, we're at 0.35, it was at 0.18. And so I think what that is bearing out, and using Gainesville as the example, is there's some people that kind of like the suburban lifestyle, want to live a little further away from campus. As a part of that, driving to campus becomes a factor in something they've got to do. So they're going to choose the development that has parking. Whereas a lot of people are loving the urban life. They want to live close, they're willing to give up the car so they can walk. And I think that was the situation with Social 18. That's the situation with this development here. Again, 0.18 at Social 18, 0.35 here.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Please proceed.
Thank you.
My name is Greg Minder, 2915 West Bay Court Avenue. I have been sworn. I'm the developer, one of the developers of this project, one of the partners. I stood before you a couple weeks ago and we went through some of the statistics associated with this, and we followed up with additional statistics today, measures, code requirements, et cetera. We think a lot of what we've done is measured based on experience and measured based on paralleling our project and looking at our project in the context of where it sits, in the context of where trends are moving in the market. Trends are moving not just in the Tampa market, but in the broader market as a student housing sense. The question was asked, is there a way to guarantee students live in this building 100%? And the answer to that is no, because there are laws that are associated with that. However, the reason this industry exists as a student housing product is similar to the reason that other products exist in the multifamily market. They're targeted toward specific end users. And that end user profile is met by the things that we provide, the amenities in the building we provide, the design of the building, everything from internet connectivity is amenity, the spaces that they occupy within the building, the fact that it's furnished, the fact that it's move-in ready and easy to be a resident of our building. And really what I'm going to in that is that market demand has as much of an influence over us as all these statistics do. It is not in our benefit to under-amenitize or under-park a project. It is not to our benefit at all if a resident or potential resident comes to our door, asks to live there, and their sole criteria is to have an apartment and a place to live along with a parking space. They will seek out other places to live. That's our risk. And as a private developer, we measure that risk daily and we take it very seriously. We have a lot of fiduciary responsibility, not only to ourselves, but to our investors and to our potential residents that live in the building. We have to measure all these things and put in place what we believe will be financially successful and ultimately, from a lifestyle standpoint and neighborhood standpoint, successful. Councilman Carlson mentioned earlier that investing in neighborhoods and areas and making them consistent and based on the feedback of that neighborhood is important. We've asked our neighbors around us to be supportive of our project. We've seen that, and our immediately adjacent neighbors are all on board. The University of Tampa is certainly an important constituent in what we're doing. We've listened to them. We met with them the other day. And unfortunately, the way we measure the market and demand and the amount of parking that they requested we include in this project, it's not a feasible number, not only because of the cost to build, but also the fact that we don't believe our clientele will demand it. Given that this is a relatively new product to the urban core of Tampa, the student housing focused model, we have borne out through our experience that we are more walkable as a product, that we are seeing lower demand for parking. There are higher offerings in mobility. Certainly micro-mobility has improved tremendously in the city of Tampa. We can't build enough package storage in our buildings to meet the demand. One of the things we often see in our move-in process, which we're just completing on our project in downtown Tampa called the Henry, is that a lot of students that occupy our building are from the Northeast or Midwest of the United States. They literally fly in and ship their goods, clothing, things for their apartments to the building itself. And we receive them for them. They fly into town, Uber to our place, and then move in, which is a tremendous strain initially on our project. They also, during the course of a school year, we designed into our projects package storage for Amazon, Federal Express, UPS. We have stations for Uber Eats and all the other services, Instacart and Shipt. Students today are very app friendly. They're very technology savvy, and they use those services tremendously, more so than we would ever use them. So I have to remember in everything that we do to step back and look at who our target market is and how they live their life today. And that's very different than the way we all measure that as individuals. At my age of 53, I have 2 young daughters who are in the collegiate era, and I know that their lifestyle is heavily dependent upon other options for mobility and not cars. That's anecdotal, but we have to weave in a little bit of the art and science in what we do. So finance and associated with reviewing a deal, looking at our target market, we can put together all these statistics, measure them, design to them, all those things. But if we don't truly believe that that will be successful and we put that out into the market, it is completely against our best interests to underserve our target market, right? So that's where we have to balance these things. We believe we've struck that balance, and we've struck it well with what we're putting in front of you. We feel that with a lot of conviction. I wouldn't be here today to just say, well, we kind of batted around in a conference room. We didn't do that. We've done all of our homework. We think we've shown you that homework, and we're willing to stand by that homework, because at the end of the day, our risk is that potential tenants will move on and they won't rent in our building. And that lack of demand or our inability to meet that supply or that demand with our supply would be at our risk. I think lastly, someone said, earlier on, I think it was Councilman Vieira, that your quasi-judicial group, right? So you're here to measure not only stats and testimony and facts and basis, but also a little bit of that art, right, of what we present to you as developers. Measuring whether or not that's applicable to this location is kind of what we're asking you to do, is to not only look at statistics, but listen to the testimony in front of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Is there anyone here that wishes to make public comment to this case? Please come forward.
My name is Scott Gosen. I am the Director of Design and Construction for the University of Tampa. I am also a registered architect, so I also am an expert in this matter as well. I'm going to go just to start addressing some of the items that they all raised. So last week we heard about this urgent need for more student housing. I'd like to remind everybody that the developer did not speak to the university. I'm sorry, but sending an email to our president saying that you're looking at doing a project does not provide any detail as to what the project is. All of our current students on campus and off campus have all been successfully housed this year. Once again, this so-called urgent need is an anomaly. There are approximately 4,000 units currently under construction or proposed around the University of Tampa. We only have 5,000 undergraduate students that are housed off campus. So once again, this whole notion that this will be filled with students is not realistic. The parking waiver states that the development is, quote, reserved for student housing. I think we've touched on it. It's not reserved. The developer is hoping to attract our students, but it will be used for multifamily if it's not filled with students, and I think that's very likely. The parking waiver also states that 80% of our students come from out of state, and a safe assumption is that they will not harness a vehicle. Once again, this is a false assumption because they have not talked to us. They have no idea what our ratios are. 77 to 81% of our off-campus juniors and seniors register for a parking permit. This is their target population. Even the juniors and seniors who live on our campus, 60% of them request a parking permit. So this whole 0.35 is about half of what they actually need. They talk about this place of origin, and Greg mentioned that they fly in. That's not true. I just mentioned that 60% of our juniors and seniors that live on campus still have a car, or on campus have a car. We mentioned that 77 to 81% of our juniors and seniors that live off campus have a car. They're obviously not flying in. They're driving down, they're moving in. So the developer is currently requesting 565 beds with only 199 parking spaces, removing the 12 for retail. So they already touched on that 0.35. That's about half of what our documented statistics show. They talk about what other places are doing. Well, let's look at our area, which I think is more important. Adam and Chaz on the Oakhurst property are proposing 0.71 for their project. That's double this, and that project will be in front of you on September 8th. Langdon Zimmer on the west side of our campus proposed 1.125, 3.5 times this development. Even the Henry has 0.54 that they keep referencing that they just finished. So in other words, this is just a crazy exception. 0.35 is totally inappropriate, and we do not want to see this perpetuated on future projects around campus. And I want to point out that they've said the University of Tampa is their target audience. We have a project here requesting 7 waivers to provide student housing for us, and yet here we stand objecting to this project. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't hold water. Thank you for your time.
I have a couple questions. I'm sorry. If you're going to present comment, please, and I'll ask your questions after we've heard public comment.
Would you like to say something, please?
Ron Vaughn, President. When you made the original judgments at their previous presentation, they presented what might have seemed like compelling facts to you about the parking that they didn't need in their current building. And of course, that was an anomaly last year because due to the pandemic, we had a huge surge of freshmen that came in, 400 to 500 more students. And about half of their building was empty. And we were able to offer opportunities to parents who normally would not go off campus. They don't want that for freshmen and sophomore. Parents want their child on campus. But in this case, they were able to get housing because there was nothing else available, and they came to Tampa and to UT to be at UT. They all came with the understanding that they could not bring cars to campus, incidentally. So they became occupants of the Henry. We filled it up in about a day. But again, freshmen, when they come to the University of Tampa, they are told you cannot bring cars. So when you heard about the extra space last year in the Henry, you need to understand that it was a most unusual situation for them to have extra space because they had about half the building with freshmen in it, all who came to Tampa for the most part without a car, knowing that they couldn't have a car. But by the time our students get to a junior and a senior status in particular, and that's primarily the students that are going off campus. We house the freshmen and the sophomores and a few juniors and seniors, but the juniors and seniors want mobility. And yes, they can walk to campus, but the majority of our campus works. It's a hard working student body. It's part of that. Many of them are doing internships, particularly in their junior and senior year. And now internships is become even more important. So they're doing multiple internships because they know it has a high impact on their skills. Anyway, so I just wanted to refute the data that was originally presented to you and probably gave an impression that in fact they had plenty of parking. Well, it was just due to the anomaly of freshmen coming in and now they're sophomores and they too don't have many cars.
Any other public comment? Mr. Kramer.
If I could use the Elmo, Mr. Chair.
You're not on the
I'm here for public comment, believe it or
Okay.
not.
Thank you.
Can you see that okay? Thank you. Council Jay Kramer with Stearns Weaver Miller, 401 East Jackson Street, number 2100. I'm here on a little bit of an unusual assignment today. I'm here representing the immediately adjacent landowner to the north, the old University Inn. Many of you are probably familiar with that. FCG Tampa Heights LLC. They also own the lot on the other side of the block to the north. So we are the most affected neighbor by this project. And I'll say my client and I have found Mr. Gardner's team and Mr. Mender to be, if anything, overly communicative with us. We have had a lot of meetings about this project. When I got involved, we were concerned about the parking issue. That was our biggest concern. After talking to them, I've reviewed the waiver, I've reviewed the study, the transportation study for this project, and I'm here to tell you we worked through our issues and we're here fully in support of this project. We think it's the right thing for the neighborhood. You know, I would suggest to you that the only competent substantial evidence I've heard so far on the waiver issue is from a traffic engineer. I don't believe an architect is qualified to do that type of parking study. So I think the only evidence you've got today is in support of that waiver. You know, change is hard. Part of the change here is that UT has been so successful that it's changed the neighborhood, and the neighborhood is changing, and people are able to walk to the services and walk to campus. They wouldn't have, even 5 years ago, they probably wouldn't have been able to do that and have everything they needed right there in the neighborhood. But the neighborhood has changed. Change is hard, and we just want to let you know there's those of us in the neighborhood that are very supportive of this project. Thank you.
Thank you. You had your 3 minutes? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Monty Wirtz, and I'm the Vice President of Operations at the University of Tampa. I live at 4319 West Neptune Street in the city of Tampa. I'd like to speak just for a couple of moments, again, to summarize what you've already heard today. Our main concern is, again, with the availability of housing. If you're looking at the market, we have approximately 5,000 students who require off-campus housing. Those are students who are over and above what the university right now can accommodate. So our market share, if you will, is 5,000. Well, those 5,000 students this year and every other year but last year were accommodated quite comfortably in the developments that are already surrounding the university. We're now looking at 4,000 new beds coming online, specifically targeted at our students, and we welcome that kind of investment in our students. Mr. Minter talked a lot about amenities that are geared towards students. All of us welcome that. The problem that we're having is that all of these developments are advocating for a student housing designation. And we just don't believe that all of these developments are going to be able to be filled with students. So what's going to happen is then we're going to have multifamily units going into these areas around the university. And there's not going to be enough parking for those families. So that's going to cause a great deal of congestion in our area, which if you've driven down North Boulevard very recently, you know is pretty congested. And our parking garages become very attractive to those people who can't find parking in the city. So what happens is these developments, if they're not parked correctly for multifamily units, they're going to push that problem to us, and they're going to push it to you as the city. To find solutions for these parking. So we are simply asking that this project not be treated differently as a student housing project, but be treated as a multifamily project, because ultimately that's probably what it's going to be, partially student housing and partially multifamily. Thank you.
I have some questions.
Everything's based on some consumption of what if. And the what if to me is, A, does the university have the capacity to take another 4,000 students today or tomorrow? I don't know that. So we're building all these houses, as I heard from both sides, maybe, I don't know how many thousands of them coming up. But does the university have a footprint to expand? I'm asking the president, do you have a capacity to understand that we have 4,000 or 5,000 or 6,000 people coming? That I'm sure, can you tell us how many students have applied and how many are the waiting list or whatever, however your formula is, sir, so that we can better understand the facilities of making the management decision. Do we have enough capacity based on the available units to handle what's coming? Complicated question, meaning, can you handle another 4,000 students?
On our campus. Please come to the podium so we can hear you for the record.
Everything is based on student housing, so I want to make sure that the university has 4,000 availability to handle 4,000 units.
If we look into the future, as far as one can look into it, it would seem to be extremely unlikely that the university would grow by 4,000 more than what we have right now. We don't have enough room in our footprint for that. And again, importantly, part of the key, it's not about whether you can walk to campus and do those things. It's where are you putting your cars? You're putting your cars at your residence. And most of our students have got cars, 80%. 60% of the ones even living on our campus got. So where do all the cars go? And in fact, if they're not providing it in the location, if they're not providing it at the location, which in general they're not, it's half of what it should be, or some are even 3 times what they're doing. But no, I don't expect that the university will grow to the numbers that you have cited.
And I'm asking this question because in my mind I'm thinking, how is this done? You have a building that more likely to be completed in 24 or 30 months or whatever, and no one's asked the University of Tampa if all these buildings, there's 1 or 2 or 3 of them coming up, if they have the capacity to handle that for student housing. If they don't, then it's not going to be student housing,
Well,
I would imagine.
that's part of what we wonder, because we know that our
Yeah,
growth
and I
is
didn't mean to
limited.
put words in your mouth or anything, but I was just thinking about what we've been hearing. And I hear 77 to 81%, so forth on that. Then the juniors and the seniors, 60% asking for parking and so forth and so on. As I'm making notes, I tell myself, has anybody asked the university if they can complete the people that want to come in, that are going to fill these apartments in campus?
But the university is very attractive. You know, we've got a great reputation and we've done very well. But we do not see us growing to the kind of numbers that would occupy all of these places.
So
You know,
what's your capacity now?
If I look down at the reasonable capacity, in, I'll say the years ahead, a decade ahead or so, it might be as much as 12,000, something like that, but
So in other words, you're not going to be at 16,000 in
Yeah.
3 years.
no, that would be pretty much impossible given.
That's all I'm
current
asking of
circumstances.
myself. That's what I wanted an answer, because I don't know which way to
Yeah.
go here.
Yeah, but it's where do the cars go too, when these people build all around us?
Councilman Hurtak.
You said that 60% of students who live on campus have cars?
Yes, they do.
So-
Juniors and seniors.
So 60% of the students who live on campus, but you said all of the freshmen are required to live on campus. How
No,
how many of those have cars?
The freshmen and sophomores, the parents generally want them to be on campus. We don't require it, but it's very high percentage of freshmen that are on campus. And only 4% of freshmen have cars. So again, we have a requirement that if you're coming to our campus and you're a freshman, you can't bring cars to the campus, you know, unless there's a special exception made, and there's only a handful of those. But by the time you get to the sophomore year, a few more will have cars. By the time you're a junior and a senior, and again, they're working jobs, they're doing internships all over the place, they've got a little bit more going on to take advantage of everything in our wonderful community. But at that point, you know, there's almost 80% have cars. And that's the audience that they're housing, you see. It's juniors and seniors. We don't send freshmen and sophomore off campus, with the exception of last year and that one very unusual situation caused by the pandemic, that there were so many that wanted to be at UT. I mean, it was huge, and they all came in late and expecting to try to find housing someplace.
What is your capacity for parking currently, right now?
Can you answer that?
How many parking spaces do you have on campus?
I don't have that number with me right now. I can tell you that our parking plan is segmented, meaning that we have a certain number of parking spaces that are reserved for residential students who tend not to move their cars as often. We have a larger percentage that is segmented for our commuting student population who come to campus and then leave throughout the day. And then we have a segment of our campus parking that is segmented for faculty and staff parking.
And so you don't know how many parking spaces you have, but how many of those are empty?
Empty. I can tell you that this week we sent out global messages to our students, letting them know where our availability was, because we were getting flooded with calls that there was no parking on campus. We have a series of cameras, closed circuit cameras, or what kind of cameras, where we can watch parking, and we can send out notices to our students where the available parking is for them. We do have adequate parking for all of our students presently.
And my last question is the one that concerns me the most, that I believe I heard someone say that you don't allow scooters or other mobility devices on campus?
It's not quite right. We don't allow them to be strewn throughout the center of our campus. They come right to our campus entries. and that's where they stop. As you know, people are pretty bad where they leave them all over the place, so we try to confine it to the borders of the campus. And bikes we have all over the campus. We provide even our own free campus biking where we provide bikes for our students too.
Our students are large consumers of scooters. If you drive by the university pretty much on any given day, you'll see just, piles of scooters where our students have used them to come to campus. We don't allow them to go throughout the campus because of the speed. And if you drive through our campus, you pretty much anywhere from 10 to about 4 in the afternoon, it's very dense. And the speed of the scooter is just not safe in that environment.
Again, when you...
Councilor Carlson.
In your master plan, considering the parking you have now and the growth rates, do you have any plans in the next 5 or 10 years to build more parking garages?
We do. Actually, and we just completed one new parking deck this past year on the sort of the southwest side of our campus for our students. So that's, people are getting used to that. We have another one that's in the project that's coming out of the ground now that will be ready for 2024.
Is that dedicated to a housing
It's
residential building?
housing, again, for freshmen and sophomore students on our campus. But
So
we also have parking that's part of that structure, 450 spaces in it.
I guess I should have asked will you be building any parking within walking distance, close walking distance of this proposed building where people from that building could park?
Well, Bill, I would say that it's not really our responsible to provide the parking for all of the developers around the campus. They're providing the housing. That's where they're supposed to live and reside, and that's where their cars should be. Why should we be responsible for what they should be doing as part of their project? The ones that you've got coming up, those other sites that have been mentioned, they're doing that in a proper way and they're responsible and appropriate amounts of parking. This one is a real low ball. And if others were to take advantage of that kind of a number, it will choke the neighborhoods and be a huge challenge for us.
And Councilman Carlson, just so you know, if you kind of look at that bike diagram that you see here, you see right here, that's one of our big parking garages on campus. So you're concerned about where we think they would go. We would assume this type of development, we would see those types of vehicles scattered through there.
And what would that do to that parking garage and the people that park there now? How would that affect it?
So pretty much the worst stall you can have from a traffic engineering perspective is a stall that doesn't have turnover. So one of the nice things about a campus like us is we can control our classroom schedules and kind of spread that load throughout the week. That's one of the benefits that the university has. When you have a stall that doesn't have turnover where it's just parked, like I don't doubt that somebody could put their car in either their garage or our garage and not use it for a week. Like, I think that's very possible. It's definitely walkable. But the problem is that car does not have any turnover. So then our problem is it actually becomes a worse load when we have our parking consultants that we use that analyze our parking routinely. It just kills that parking space for us.
I'm asking you to define, is your campus ride-friendly? I've heard that scooters can come up to the fringe, but then you can't ride them on campus. I've also heard that there is bike sharing on campus.
Yes, sir.
But a student who is living off campus can't take their bike onto campus?
Of course they can.
No, of course they can do that all over.
Okay, I needed that defined.
Yeah, we have bike parking places throughout our campus.
Thank you. And other colleges where the city has grown up around the college, those colleges make it mandatory that freshmen and sophomore cannot have a vehicle. You said we're told not to. Is it mandatory that they don't have a vehicle?
For freshmen, we say it's a requirement. And again, there's unusual exceptions or somebody.
There's always exceptions. in
There
every
are,
rule.
but it's
is it
only a
mandatory?
handful.
Is it mandatory?
For all freshmen, it's a requirement.
Mandatory.
That's what we tell them. You will find exceptions to it, but it's a handful.
All right, thank you. Any other comments, public comments? Dishner, rebuttal. Hang on, Zane, you have something you want to throw in?
Zane Hussein, Development Coordination. I've been hearing these words, student housing, throughout the last 5-10 minutes. And I understand with proximity of the project towards the university that these words are stated, but may I just make it clear that student housing is not recognized in the zoning code. So that's, of course, something to just consider and keep in mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Goode.
So, Zane, come back. Repeat that again. There's no provision of anything in our codes that reference anything about student housing, correct?
Correct. Zoning code does not accept or actually use the words student housing. So that's not referred in our zoning code or defined.
It's just defined as housing or multiple housing with family housing. What is it defined as?
We have residential multifamily.
Residential.
Correct.
All right, here comes Kate.
Correct. Thank you. Thank you so much, Kate. The request here is for PD, Planned Development, residential multifamily, and strip shopping center retail, including bank, drive-in, and so on. But this request is for residential multifamily. So the word student housing, although it is the proximity is close to a university, those words are not defined or recognized in our code.
All right, thank you, Zane.
Thank you.
Councilman Carlson.
Could I just ask Ms. Wells, do we not have a student housing category because it's against federal law or just because we don't have one?
Kate Wells, for the record. I've not researched the issue that was raised earlier today with regard to if it was limited to student housing, would that be discriminatory and in violation of the Federal Fair Housing? But counsel for the applicant has made that representation. Our code currently does not include student housing, and the request before you is for multifamily. So I would recommend, in looking at the waivers being requested, look at the requested use, the waivers, and whether they've met their burden of proof under our code.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's your rebuttal.
Truett Gardner, 400 North Ashley Drive. Couple comments. One, as Mr. Creamer said, we have provided competent substantial evidence through a traffic engineer, not an architect, that this waiver is justified. To the question of student housing, yes, true, not currently in the code, but you've got a draft ordinance being presented to you for the CBD, which will have a new category called student housing. So that's in there, it's been voted on once, it's gonna be in front of you for second reading. Secondly, Ms. Kramer's gonna speak to this. Not only did we analyze this as a student housing project, but as Ms. Wirt said, her fear is this becomes a multifamily project. We've analyzed it as a multifamily project, and based on all of your guidelines for any of your urban neighborhoods, we exceed what the parking requirement would be for any of those other urban villages and neighborhoods. We're confident this waiver is justified and will not burden the area. As Greg mentioned, I've got the letters, I'll submit these to Mr. Massey, the letters of support from the neighbor property owner. And then lastly, and we absolutely respect and cherish the University of Tampa and not trying to question their motives, but I just find this one email just hard to jive and justify. As Dr. Vaughn stated, they were at full capacity or record capacity last year after COVID. This was an email written by Greg Mender 11 months ago, September 30th, 2021. Yes, starts at the bottom and then replies on the top. Can you see it? He states, we would like to, and this is to Jennifer Saya, who, if you'll recall, Dr. Vaughn told Mr. Mender to have all of his responses and discourse with Ms. Skaya. So Greg is writing to Ms. Skaya, we would like to communicate to the broader student population that we have parking available, this is at the Henry downtown, at $115 per month. How do we do that efficiently? The response 2 days later, or 1 day later, October 1st, 2021, from Ms. Guy to Mr. Mender. Hi, Greg, we are not seeing a demand for student parking at this time, so I'm not able to send a communication to all students. Even with our Barrymore, and that's the old hotel that they're using for student housing, even with our Barrymore parking offer, it was sent to a limited group with very few takers. So I'm just having a hard time justifying this absolute demand on their parking structures where there's no data to provide what that is. And the only way I can read this email is there's something amiss here. But again, back to what this rezoning is about. If you look at this as a student housing development, if you look at it as an urban multifamily development, we not only meet, but we exceed the parking. With that, I'll turn things over to Mr. Mender.
Have a limited amount of time here, so I'll be quick. You know, it's our market risk to present this project to the community and for its absorption. We've done a market study. Our market analysis said about 3,700 beds today are in demand. And one of the reasons why that's true, yes, students are finding their way into market rate apartments, into shadow product, duplexes, single-family houses throughout Tampa, as far-flung areas as student housing projects in and around USF. This is a much more efficient place for them to live, proximal to campus, and we know the demand is there because, you know, even the university said, well, you know, over the last 10 years, we've been able to place students, and last year we had an overwhelming demand for the Henry. While there was a large surge of freshmen that went into the building and we allowed them into the building as a part of our affiliation agreement, we were not supposed to take freshmen. The typical market rate apartment doesn't let inventory be known to the outside market until about 60 days ahead of the actual occupancy. That's because that's when a lease termination notice is filed by a tenant, and then the project actually knows how many apartments they'll have available for that next month or the following month. That's how that all works, right? We're well in advance of that. We start signing leases for the next year in October, November of a previous year, knowing that there's a lot of demand. In May of this year, we were 100% leased for the Henry for next year. That didn't include any freshmen. We now have about 15 total freshmen, or less than 3% of the building. And at that time, we had about 100 parking spaces reserved for the fall. Now, that number has increased based on the convenience factor of having a car, but it was not a basis for making the decision to lease. So I want to make sure that's abundantly clear to council. One of the other questions that was asked was, how many parking spaces does the University of Tampa have? They have approximately 3,125 structured parking spaces, about 320 surface parking spaces, for a total of 3,445. In the West Garage, where they designate parking for overnight on-campus students, that's about 980 spaces by my count for inventory. We've done our homework. We know exactly what we're putting out in front of you. We know why we're asking for this waiver. The market supports what we're projecting as demand for this product, and the market supports what we're supplying in terms of parking. We've done all the work. We've done all the metrics. We've also measured it against our risk, and we feel very confident in what we're putting in front of you. Thank you. Lastly, I wanted to mention, if I'm allowed, can I have 10 more seconds? The university already has a policy that no overnight parking is allowed by any decal parking holder on campus. It's a matter of enforcement, and that's really what it comes down to. We are okay and happy to put in front of you that we will put into our lease that there would be a restriction that any resident who parks in any unauthorized area, whether it be city or university or wherever, that would be justification for termination in the lease. I'll put that on the record. If that's what everybody feels comfortable with having, then I'm fine doing that because we're confident in our numbers.
Ms. Wells.
Ms. Murray.
No,
Your time is up.
Okay.
Ms. Wells.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you, council, and I apologize for addressing council again after rebuttal has been complete, but I just wanted to clarify the record. Mr. Gardner talked about the student housing parking ratio that was included in the ordinances scheduled for second reading today. Your addendum to the final agenda for items 56 and 57 are the ordinances he mentioned. Susan Johnson Velez had filed a substitute ordinance which removes the parking ratio for the proposed student housing. That will allow staff to look at that issue a little more closely. So I just wanted to clarify that for the record, that that portion of the ordinance, each of the ordinances, one for the Channel District, one for the Central Business District, that portion is not moving forward today.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Goods.
Mr. Gardner made a comment in reference to his lease. I don't think we have any authority to even ask him to put that, or it would be binding, in reference to this case.
That would not be a condition of approval that would be enforceable as a result of this zoning. If it's approved, that would be a private contractual matter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion closed by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilwoman Hurtak. All in favor? What is the pleasure of council? Councilman Maniscalco.
And this is to include a revision sheet as well, once I read this? Or no? All right. I have an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption, ordinance rezoning the property in the general vicinity of 110 South Boulevard in the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification OP office professional to PD plan development, residential, multifamily, strip shopping center, retail, bank, drive-in, providing an effective date, and this includes the revision sheet.
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Carlson. Vera, excuse me. Is there any further discussion? Councilman Carlson.
Yeah, just based on some of the new evidence today, especially the part about the lack of any kind of restriction regarding student housing, I'm going to change my vote today.
Councilman Hurtak.
And I understand that, but this is not even a half mile from the Central Business District. They're providing, in my opinion, when looking at that chart for Ybor and all of those areas, this is offering more parking. I don't know very many families that would look at a fully furnished move-in apartment as something viable. Again, I have seen this elsewhere. I think it would be incredibly difficult for them to not reach their target market or in the similar age range, even if it isn't a student. I don't know how many 45-year-olds would want to live with a bunch of college students.
Not me.
Well, I'm just saying they are geared toward a younger demographic. They just are. Even if it's not college students, they may have people that are similar. I don't disagree that there should be a concern about parking, but it seems like they're providing more than they would have to in any of these other surrounding districts. So I'm not concerned about it.
Chairman?
Councilman Goods.
You know, sometimes, I won't use the word get over, but we get over sometimes. I think the verbiage of student housing kind of played and we got over with this whole situation. And then it comes to the 9th hour, now we have to make a decision versus the university's needs or non-needs versus a developer who wants to provide actual housing. I just look at it, it's not gonna do a lot of student housing because I'm looking at what type of development this is, what it's gonna cost a person to live there, and it'd probably be a younger crowd to probably live there, but I don't see a bunch, plus they come from someplace else, well, they may have money, because I know nobody I know won't have no money to live there, not from my communities. But again, it's playing on words, and it got caught in the 9th hour. And it is what it is at this point, but to me, it just seems like it's going to be housing, not student housing. And I'll make my decision.
Anyone else? Councilman Miranda.
Chairman, thank you very much. My questioning was, when I spoke earlier about the availability of the housing that they're providing and the university's growth in the next 2 or 3 years, which is about the time that I imagine this thing will be completed. And the university stated on the record that they won't be able to handle the students for that amount of their capacity there. And project seems great and wonderful if it was another location. It doesn't sit well close to somebody who's already telling us that they have a problem accommodating what they need. And then in the future, in the next 4 or 5 years, they're not going to get 4,000 new students above the 12,000 they got now. And so that would be about 15 or 16,000 students. And where are the people going to park? And these are and I love the project. I really do. I think it's a great project. But when it comes in with student housing and others, like Mr. Goods spoke about, I'm a little hesitant to say yes and then be wrong, and I can't fix that. That's the problem that I'm in. I don't know about the rest of us. But if there was a magic wand that I can say I can fix it after I made an error, and that's fine. But right now, I just can't afford to take that chance on the error and have more cars available and have a chaos in the neighborhood. That's what's going to come to. It ain't going to be about us, it's about the people who live in the neighborhood.
Anyone else? I'm divided. If I would just graduated college and I came down here and I had an offer from a company, said, we want you here, I wouldn't know where I was going to live. This would be ideal for me as a college graduate, coming down, living here for a year, trying to figure out where I'm going to stay. Not a college student, a college graduate. Another would be if I am moving down here with my wife and I'm looking for a place to live. It's furnished. I'll have a lease there till I figure out whether I want to live South Tampa, East Tampa, West Tampa, Carrollwood, Brandon. Karen Chris and the Downtown Partnership, along with a bunch of other people, came up with really great parking ideas for downtown, which one day I'm hoping will expand out to the rest of the city. You know, we have to start thinking about other forms of transportation, which then now leads me back, University of Tampa. Again, as I said, other colleges make it mandatory that your sophomore and freshmen don't have a car. The graph that we saw, in my opinion, those scooter companies, this is coming from Scooter Joe, cannot get onto campus. Housing is needed, but just to define it as one sort of housing, I don't know about that. All right, we have a motion on the floor made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Vieira. Place your vote and record. Uh-oh. Should we go to roll call?
It's coming up. Need to see who's the two. Yeah, let's go to roll call.
Roll call vote, please.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Miranda,
No.
Hurtak,
Yes.
Carlson,
No.
Goods,
Hesitantly, yes.
Vieira,
Yes.
and Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried with Miranda and Carlson voting no.
Move the resolution. Second.
A motion to move the resolution by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Vieira. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Any objections? Okay, thank you. I have been asked, well, no. We are in adjournment until 1:30. Recess until 1:30. Yes, ma'am.
I was wondering if you could do number 50, the one right before this, because I'm actually going to thank you.
All right. I had been passed a piece of paper asking us to continue for a little bit. So let's take number 50. Are you gonna thank us now or after we're finished?
I'll thank you during, and I bet she will too.
Good morning, City Council. If I may request, if you're doing 50, if you could also do 49, because I'm here for both of those items, if it's
Do
council's
we need to
pleasure.
open them up at the
So
same
moved,
time?
Mr. Chairman.
No, they're not related.
Okay, okay. Then let's do 49 first. File number TA CPA 22-04.
Jennifer Malone with the Planning Commission. File number TA CPA 22-04 was a city council initiated amendment to add policies about cemetery protection into the comprehensive plan. City council has seen this twice already because it was transmitted to DEO and then before you for adoption. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Malone? Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to make a comment? Seeing none?
We'll close.
Second.
Moved to close by Councilman Good, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor?
Aye.
Councilman Carlson.
Yes, sir, I'd like to move file number TA CPA 22-04, ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption, an ordinance amending the Imagine 2040 Tampa Comprehensive Plan future land use element to create new definitions for cemetery and unmarked human burial to amend land use LU Goal 19 and create LU policies 19.5, 19.51, 19.5.2, 19.5.3, 19.5.4, 19.5.5, 19.6, 19.6.1, 19.6.2, 19.7, and 19.7.1, providing for repeal of all ordinances in conflict, providing for severability, providing effective.
Second.
We have a motion made by Councilman Carlson, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. Let's do roll call.
Thank you. Goods?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Vieira? Maniscalco?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Hurtak?
Yes.
And Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously with Vieira being absent at vote.
Thank you very much. Agenda item number 50, file number TA CPA 22-07.
Jennifer Malone with the Planning Commission. This is another publicly initiated amendment by City Council to eliminate the floor area ratio for single-use residential development in the South Tampa Planning District for the Regional Mixed Use 100 Future Land Use category. You have seen this one twice as well because it was transmitted to DEO this summer and then it came back for adoption. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Malone? Is there anyone in the public?
Thank you for doing this. My name is Susan Swift. I'm the Director of Planning for Boggs Engineering. I represent Save Beach Park and Beach Park Civic Association on this. I wanted to thank Councilmember Carlson for initiating this, and it was initiated around the time I was changing firms, which is why I have not been here before to thank you. But they were the impetus for this, and we would certainly appreciate if you move forward with adoption. And thanks to Ms. Malone as well for handling it through the process. Well, I was a little AWOL, so thanks again.
Anyone else like to speak to this?
Move to close.
Second. Motion to close by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Goods. All in favor? Aye. Councilman Maniscalco.
Thank you. I have an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption, ordinance amending the Imagine 2040 Tampa Comprehensive Plan future land use element to modify the use of floor area ratio FAR for single-use residential development located within the Regional Mixed Use 100 RMU 100 category within the South Tampa New Tampa Planning District, providing for repeal of all ordinances in conflict, providing severability, providing an effective date.
I have a motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. Let's have a roll call vote, please.
Hurtak?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Goods?
Yes.
Vieira? Maniscalco?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
And Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously with Vieira being absent at vote.
We are at recess until 1:30.
Same old place where we long to be. Come on, baby, now you know we gonna walk so slow. Until every time you see me, you'll wanna walk some more. Come on, baby, take a little walk with me.